uh, oh, jeez. Why does it sound crunchy? I don't know. Hopefully that's only on my end. Hello. Hello, everybody. I hope you've been well. I've been doing stuff. I don't even know what to say. I forgot how to stream. I'm nervous. Well, I didn't have any ideas, so I just wanted to watch YouTube videos and do an epic reaction to them. I probably should have. I knew I wanted to do it like this morning. I just didn't have time to schedule something. So now nobody knows. Nobody's gonna show up. Wah. Okay, whatever. I don't know. This was just the first BGM that I found. Okay, maybe let me shut that up. Stop. I want to watch YouTube videos. Wait, do I have this set up? Oh my gosh. I don't know how my setup somehow downgraded. Like I used to have so many like automated hotkeys. I would just like click one button on my Stream Deck and it would do like 4 different things at once. Somehow I like recessed and now I'm like clicking the buttons on OBS manually. Like what happened? What happened? It's just as I started as I like slightly changed things, I just like got lazy and never I didn't redo all of those like functions that I had. So yeah, we're doing it live. Hold on. Okay, yep, that's the right scene. Now I have to move myself over. Okay. How big should I be? I don't know. This is the moral quandary that I've struggled with for 3 years. How big do I make myself on my overlay? It's so stupid. Okay. I have a video pulled up already. Let me just... I need to full screen it. 1080p premium bitrate. Hello. Hi. Hello. Welcome. Okay, how do I do anything? Oh my gosh. It'd be a window, right? I don't have a window source. You're not late. You're fine. I'm late. Well, I didn't like formally plan a stream, so this is just whatever. This is just me. I need to get back into it. I wasn't like... Okay, so usually my philosophy, I guess, is if I'm not like 100%, if I'm not feeling like 100%, then I usually just don't stream. Because like honestly, like even at my best, I don't think I'm a very good streamer, so like I don't want to subject people to like me like lethargically kind of being like showing up and just saying hi guys, it's another stream, and then it's just kind of boring and I'm not very entertaining and yeah. So nowadays I don't stream unless I'm like really feeling it, which means I don't stream a lot. It means I stream very little because it's very rare that that I've got like a really good idea and I'm pumped for it. Going on a school trip, that's 3 days. Password 111. Yeah, I didn't actually forget my password. I've been just busy with real life stuff, which made me slightly off kilter. When I'm off kilter, I don't like to stream. I need to be in my zone. I say that like like it's a professional sport. It's literally just talking at my monitor. It's not hard. I'm just dumb. Okay. Where? Oh. Yep, that's a thing. Why? Hold on. Capture cursor? No. Oh my god. Please. Okay. Oh. Why didn't I not have it? Oh my gosh. I still like why did I not transfer anything from my old computer? I just like deleted everything. I thought like no, it's fine. I'll just set it up again, but no, it would have been like as easy as copy and pasting. I don't know why I didn't just do that. I would have saved myself so much trouble. I think that's good. All right, that's nice in the frame. It's perfect. What are we watching? Let's see. It's just like I made like a playlist of videos that seemed interesting. They're mostly from like the same two channels. It's kind of like documentary slash comedy style videos. Well, I think one of them is slightly comedic, and then the other is like more serious. But I've watched them on the channel before, so I believe it's okay. And if it's not okay, then I don't know. Please, I beg you, let me watch it, please. No, I think it should be fine. Okay. So this is about Avatar, like the movie series, which I saw some discussion on Twitter about this movie franchise and how it's kind of like weird how it's one of the best-selling movies of all time, yet apparently it's left very little cultural impact. And I have to agree because nobody is like, man, I love Avatar. Let's talk about Avatar. No. Well, they talk about that like with like the last Airbender, but not this Avatar. Nobody cares about this Avatar, but apparently it just like it was a really successful movie. Just people, it just didn't last in anybody's mind for that long. So you gotta preview the next video. Oh, it just starts. I'm gonna monitor the volume levels as it goes.
Pandora, Awa's child, by Katul. In 2009, James Cameron, the creator, introduced us to Avatar when he swept us into his arms and swaddled us in the rousing...
This editing is crazy. Also, what is he wearing? Oh my gosh. This is crazy. This is like a AAA gaming graphics right here.
Stimuli of a glorious...
It actually reminds me, I want to go over the game showcases that happened recently as well.
And since then, well, I've never been the same. Walk with me. You see, friends, as this channel has grown, I've thought a lot.
Is this loud enough? Should I make it louder? Tell me how the volume is. Tell me if I'm too loud or if this blue guy is too loud or too quiet. You gotta tell me.
My wants, my fears, and how the ramifications of wearing a blue unitard in front of a green screen could affect future career paths. But what I've
Oh,
realized
that's
is
good.
I've been hiding a part of myself from you all for far too long. So I think it's time you know the truth. I
Huh?
freaking love Avatar. That's right. When I'm not busy making videos, you
Oh,
wouldn't
we found it. We found the one guy who likes Avatar.
be hard-pressed to find me speculating on fan forums,
Asus.
organizing my extensive Avatar collection, or just getting cozy
That
with
is
a
not a very
Blu-ray
big
of
collection.
my favorite blue hero.
It's a territorial threat display. Do not run.
So what do I do? Dance with it?
Oh, Jake Sully, you.
Now, it wasn't
What?
easy to come forward with this. In fact, I grappled with this decision for a long time, much
Okay.
like how Jake Sully grapples with the écran in the second act of the first film. But I think it's
Dang,
time I
he
take
knows
the
everything.
next step. And so, in an astounding betrayal of trust, I've decided to hijack your attention by converting my platform into YouTube's premier Avatar fan channel. Here's a sneak peek of what you can expect. Fan theories. James
Okay.
Cameron, JC. Jesus Christ, JC. Coincidence? Yeah, I don't think so. ASMR. Oh no, you're hurt. We have to use the halo. Navi
This is extra like what the hell for me because I never watched Avatar. I want to know why it's a fandom that failed, but also I haven't watched it. What is this cursed video? Don't worry about it. It's about Avatar. So it has to be I don't know. I don't know.
less. Repeat after me. Oel ningati lau nimperte.
Now he's speaking the Avatar language. Gotta go.
Exciting
Alright, see ya.
Now, I
See you
know
later.
that this news might come as a shock to some of you, but I think it's safe to say that with enough time, you guys might really, really...
Oh my man, is this what happens in
Oh, man.
Avatar?
That guy sucked. Hey. Yeah. Yeah, we got him.
I thought
Yeah, no, I'm looking at him right now.
that riff sounded like
Okay. Okay.
that one Limp Bizkit song.
Sorry, folks. Little mix-up today. Allow me to explain. You see,
Huh?
about 2 weeks ago, the CIA managed to secretly clone me into an avatar by extracting my bodily fluids off the seat of my DX Racer. They hoped that my clone would be able to abuse my
Man,
reputation
who-
as a YouTuber to attempt to gaslight
editing
me
is
into
crazy.
thinking Avatar actually had a fan base. They failed. Well, they didn't fail. Avatar as a whole failed. I mean, really, really badly. Somehow a multi-billion-dollar franchise with 2 record-breaking blockbusters has managed to
True.
have less cultural impact.
I feel like the second one like kind of got shadow dropped. Like it was kind of like we were hearing about it for a while. Like, oh yeah, that second Avatar movie, a sequel's coming out, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's out already. I feel like that's with a lot of things. Maybe I just don't keep up with movies, but I think that online, I don't know. I looked online and it was like kind of people were having the same thoughts about it. I don't know. Does that ever happen? Like movies kind of just like sneak up on you. Like you were kind of paying attention to it, but then all of a sudden it's like it's been out, and you're just like, huh? I didn't hear about it. But I mean, I wouldn't be a person to hear about movies anyways. Like ever since I got YouTube Premium, it's like how else am I going to be like I feel like I don't see like any ads ever nowadays. Like ever since I got YouTube Premium. So I'm always out of the loop about everything. I feel like that's how most people know about stuff like that, like new movies, games, stuff like that.
Then the Gremlins. Let's look at the numbers for a second. As of today, the original Avatar currently stands as the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I always thought that was weird because, like, what about? I mean, I haven't watched it, but, like, come on, it can't be that good. It just can't.
there was a brief moment where Endgame overtook it, but James Cameron quickly fixed that by re-releasing Avatar into theaters just to take back the top spot. Pettiness is one
Wait,
hell of a
really?
job.
You can just do that? Okay. Okay.
Now, sitting just below Avengers,
It's incredibly average. Yeah, that's more or less what I thought. Just, like, a really average movie with really good, crazy effects. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why that's the whole, like, reason why it blew up, right? Because everybody was talking about how crazy it was.
is
Maybe
the
it was.
Avatar
I don't know.
sequel. That's right. On the list of
Is it really like that hard to make people blue? I don't. I mean, I'm sure they did more than that, but I just imagining just like people were rushing to the theaters, like, whoa, look, there's blue people in this movie. But I know there has to be more. It's not. It wasn't just blue people. Like there has to be more VFX than that.
The highest grossing films of all time, the Avatar franchise occupies 2 of the top 3 spots. So why is
They
it
wrote on dinosaurs. Yeah, that sounds more exciting than blue people.
that no one cares? Okay, this might be the wrong place to talk smack about the movie. Let's go home. Boarding, boarding, boarding.
And they got changed quickly. What else has James Cameron made? I'm like the opposite of like a movie buff. I don't know anything about movies. What else has this guy made? He doesn't look like someone. Oh, Aliens and Terminator. Yeah, that sounds like an important guy. But I didn't know that the same people who, or the same director, I guess, who made those movies also. And Titan. What? He just made all of them? He just made all of like the most successful blockbusters? How is that possible? Is he just? I guess he's just. Man, I guess he's just goated with the sauce. I don't know. That's surprising to me. I didn't know they were all the same guy.
Alright, so what do I mean when I say that no one cares about Avatar? Clearly people are enthusiastic enough to go see it in theaters. But the problem seems to arise
cool
when
movie
people
theater.
leave those theaters. But before we get into that, here's a quick message from today's sponsor, Aura. If you've ever looked up your name
I
or
don't think so.
email on... Seriously, for a sci-fi blockbuster
Sorry,
with
I'm not
its
being
level
paid.
of success, the lack of fandom for Avatar is almost astounding.
But I feel bad because I'm just like stealing this guy's views. Wow, a stream. Wow, yeah, I know, right? I could watch his ad, but it wouldn't matter because it's not like he's getting the money anyways. Man, now I feel bad. I'm like stealing this guy's video, huh? That's how. I guess it's literally React content. I mean, I'm also like pausing it every. I feel like if you wanted to watch this video, you'd be very annoyed by me pausing and just like yapping about like how little I know about movies.
Just think back on the last 15 years since the first movie. When have you seen a person who owned a single piece of Avatar merchandise? That's not a real
I wasn't
person.
gonna watch it.
This
You
guy-
should check out this channel though. It's called Slow Start. I mean, all of their videos are like
doesn't
super.
I refuse to believe
It's
he
a lot of
exists.
editing.
And the sequel didn't fix that,
Very
by the way.
ADHD.
You're gonna wear this?
Zoomer.
Or this?
Zoomer core.
Now, before you assume that this is just some crazed, opinionated rant, I'll have you know, I've done the field work, okay? Last Christmas, I took a trip down to the old...
Why does he look so short? Did he edit himself to be shorter? What is this? I think what's happening here is that he's cut off by like the knees, and he just overlaid shoes over them.
These are us. Yeah, we still have that in Canada. That's right, fun didn't go bankrupt in my country. And what did I find? Avatar Lego sets, clearance, Avatar action
When I
figures,
realized you
clearance.
can't even see my mouse as well. I was pointing to something. Maybe I should turn that on in case I want to point to something. Capture cursor. Here, there we go. Now you can see it. I can. Wait, can you? Can you see it? No, you still can't see it. Okay, that's weird.
It gets
Oh, no,
worse.
yeah, you
Turns
can.
out the
I just
brand
have to
new
click on it.
Avatar video game was marked down 40% just 12 days after its release. So I want to try and unpack this.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. I forgot they had a video game. It was made by Ubisoft too, right? Hello, fellow VTuber. Hello, Crunchy. Welcome. Crunchy or Madoka. What should I call you? I don't know.
Why is it that Avatar, with all its success, never even came close to amassing a fan base to the likes of other major blockbusters
Madoka's-
like Star Wars or the MCU? Why hasn't the story cemented
Madoka.
itself as a pop culture classic? And is it
Okay.
possible that
I don't
there's
know why I
still a
got
chance it
tongue-tied there.
could? Well, in order to answer these questions
What you're
properly,
watching? It's about Avatar. It's about the Avatar fandom, or I guess the lack of a fandom by Slow Start. The channel is called Slow Start.
we need to take a look at the man behind it all. James Cameron, award-winning filmmaker, accomplished activist,
Oh,
and
I was asking about this guy. I could have just waited. I didn't know we were gonna get an explanation about this guy.
underwater explorer extraordinaire. Look out.
Oh, wait, no, I have heard of this guy. I remember hearing about like the director of Titanic, and then he went like down to he wanted to like he like took a submarine down, like the director of the movie, even though he was not qualified to be down there.
Adorable. In 1998, Jim was riding
That's
high
weird.
on the success of Titanic, a romantic tragedy that stood out among his filmography of primarily sci-fi thrillers. But after taking home his Oscars and
You're almost at
bestowing
1K
upon us
subs?
a
Yeah.
humble
I mean,
acceptance
I've
speech,
been
I'm the king of the
I've been
world.
there for like 3 months. I've just not been streaming.
Jim was ready to get back to
Oh
his
my god.
roots. Turns out Cameron had a little script hidden away about blue aliens living on a psychedelic planet. And while
Wow.
I'm sure this idea had nothing to do with the clam chowder incident of '96,
Uh-huh.
it's still so bizarre to think that this is
Wait, the
what
huh?
was in the incident of '96.
Oh. Oh.
It's still
Not the
so
chowder.
bizarre to think that this is what was in James's back pocket the whole time he was filming Titanic. I like to think of him behind the camera, just thinking,
That's
right,
awesome.
Jim.
I'm at
Wrap this up.
823.
Wrap this
Nice.
up so we can go make history. But as we all know, James did not rush headlong into production for Avatar. In fact, it would be over 12 years before his vision would be realized on screen. And this was simply because James didn't feel like the technology was ready to make Avatar a reality. He needed better CGI.
Oh, film sets must be so boring nowadays. Now that everything is just like green screen and like CGI. Like you saw that, like they were like diving and ducking and shooting like each other with like fake explosives or whatever.
Better motion capture. He needed...
I doubt you get anything like that on film
Smeagol.
sets nowadays.
That's right. In 2001, James Cameron witnessed the VFX marvel that was Andy Serkis's performance in Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
And at that
Call him VTuber.
moment, he knew it was time to go to Pandora. So James dusts off his script and eventually convinces 20th Century Fox to quite reluctantly fork over $10 million for a proof of concept. A sort of technical demo of what the company can expect
I wonder
from
if AI is gonna replace CGI. I mean, it's just it'll still be like computer. It just means computer generated graphics, right? So even if an AI created it, it would just be AI created CGI. But if you mean if is AI gonna replace like CGI like artists, maybe. I don't know. That it would have to be like they're barely at like they're barely like good at like pictures yet. Well, they're getting there with pictures, but like it's gonna be a while until it's like they're replacing like full motion like 3D stuff. You know, like I think VFX artists are still gonna be in need of jobs for a while.
from Avatar. And eventually, in 2005, James comes back with this.
You not fear,
What the?
you strong heart. But stupid!
A try.
Stupid.
A technical marvel. Fox says, by God, Jim, you did it again. Here's $250 million.
Oh my god. It's probably literally I think like a college student could make something like that nowadays. They were like here's $250 million.
Go!
That's how amazing and groundbreaking this idea is.
Okay, I'm kidding. Fox was still incredibly skeptical and
250 million probably isn't even like the marketing for movies nowadays. Isn't that crazy? Like that doesn't even cover marketing for like movies nowadays. I'm pretty sure. Like how much does it cost to like create like a Okay, I'm gonna look up the budget of The last Avengers movie. What was the last Avengers movie called? I'm not a dork. What was the? So I don't know the name of it. That was mean. What was it called though? Probably Wouldn't it be Endgame? Maybe. Budget. Yeah, the budget of Avengers Endgame was 356 million. One of the most expensive films ever produced. Yep, I could have guessed that. Now let's see the marketing budget. I typed marketing. Just the marketing budget was over 200 million. Okay, so like that's probably unusually high, but like yeah, at this point like we're getting just the marketing for some movies are getting to that degree. I wonder if $1 billion has been spent on a movie yet. That's an interesting thing to Google. I'm gonna guess probably not. Most expensive movie ever made. Wikipedia list of most expensive films. Number 1 is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Really? And it's at 447 million. But wait, if we do Star Wars: The Star Wars: The Force Awakens marketing budget, because that's not included with like with the actual budget for some reason. You're gonna lurk? All right. Marketing budget. Okay, what is it? Wait, what? Literally like every single website, it's like this website says the budget was of the whole thing was 245, and then this budget says it was 533 million. It's like what's the right answer? Maybe that includes the marketing. I don't know. But let's just say no movie has reached the billion yet. But it might. They're already pretty much halfway there. It looked like that Star Wars movie cost like 500 million. And so we might get to $1 billion soon. Maybe Star Wars Episode 10.
And kind of reluctant, but the film was greenlit because James always seems to find a way to get his way. I mean, this is the guy who convinced the same studio to do a sequel to Alien by writing it on a piece of paper, adding an S,
Aliens.
and turning it into a $. This is textbook Jim, though. The guy has always approached everything with passion, but he's also very by the numbers, very methodical. He always refers
What movie would you want to see with $1 million budget? I was just gonna say something stupid like the Pop-Tart movie, which I have not watched. I have not watched a lot of. I've not been in a. Let's just say I haven't been in a theater recently, like very recently, or within the last like 3 years. I think the last movie I went to go see was Joker, I think. So yeah, that tells you a lot.
To audiences as the marketplace, and he has a general knack for knowing what is
no, wait, I think it was maybe Deadpool 2. Whatever came first.
To perform well. He's kind of like the Mr. Beast of movies. Oh my god.
What the hell did you just say? Mr. Beast of movie? What does that even mean? You have a
Mr.
platform,
Beast.
man. You can't just say dumb shit like...
Sorry, I spaced out there for a second. Anyways, in 2009, James releases the film to wild success.
Wow.
At that point in time, Avatar was undebatably the most stunning film in the history of CGI. And you can just tell by the audience's reactions when they got out of theaters. Strangely enough, though, I could really only find premiere reactions from this one screening in Mumbai, but it's perfect. The lads absolutely love it.
It's awesome. It's great. I don't know. It's out of the world, man. Brilliant.
Brilliant. The film even spawned rumors about viewers becoming so enamored with the film that they
At least they're
became
excited by it.
clinically depressed. Post-Avatar
We know where the Avatar fandom is. They're just all in Dubai.
depression syndrome, or PADS as it was called by the afflicted, was the alleged phenomenon that occurred to viewers who struggled with the realization that Avatar wasn't real. There were even support forums where viewers discussed their struggle, and it is very embarrassing to read. The movie was so beautiful, and it showed something we don't have here on Earth.
I mean, yeah, that's called fiction.
Oh, you mean like trees? And water? But not everyone was this infatuated with Avatar. The film also drew extensive criticism for having boring characters and a played-out plot that overly relied on its visuals to carry the experience. And yes, it's true. The story of Avatar is nowhere near original. In fact, critics
Are her biddies just like out?
of
I
slammed the
wasn't
movie
paying
for
attention.
having
It
a
was like, wait, is that a
similar to
woman with
almost
her
identical
without a
plot for
shirt on?
stories like
though?
You get the idea. But according to James, that was part of the plan.
I don't think I've
He
seen a
didn't
single
want
one of
an
those.
overly complicated storyline to detract
Roll it
from the
back? No,
visual
I'm not rolling it
experience,
back.
which kind of goes to show where his head was at when making this film. You see, the second half of the 2000s were an undeniable confirmation of where cinema was headed. With films like Iron Man, Transformers, and Avatar, the visual spectacle of storytelling was being brought to the forefront.
I love the original Iron Man movie. I saw that one in theaters too. That was crazy.
Suddenly, movies were being referred to as experiences and events. In fact, Avatar's release helped to solidify the decade-long trend of 3D movies, a fad that is only just now starting to fade. So it's quite clear.
Oh yeah, Avatar was it also a 3D movie? I think I've only seen one movie in 3D, and it was that movie called Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that. I actually really like that movie. I think maybe it's just nostalgia, but I thought it was pretty good. But seeing it in 3D, it was like not. There was like just 3 points where I felt like that 3D effect actually like kind of kicked in, and it felt like something was like being flung at your face. Most of the time, it just kind of felt like the screen was like a few inches like elevated off of the wall, and that was cool, I guess. With the red and blue glasses? No. At that point they already phased those glasses out, and it was just kind of like they look like regular glasses, but like if you try to view anything like normal with them, it would just look weird. But it somehow made the movies 3D. I don't know how that works.
That at the time, Avatar absolutely had an impact on cinema. And even with the film's critiques, the general reception was still vastly positive. I mean, some people flat out worshipped this movie. Do yourself a favor and look at some of the YouTube comments about Avatar from 14 years ago. It's nuts. People on the internet just spoke
How do you even find these 14 years ago?
differently then. No one was
Did someone just say epic sauce? Also, what a comment to pause it on.
afraid to pronounce their
Lol.
love in a public forum.
Hi,
Nowadays,
Presbo.
everyone's too sick with jaded cynicism and irony poisoning. But in 2009, the amount of hype for the film genuinely made it seem like the world was about to delve head first into Avatar Mania. And then we kind of just...
Avatar Mania. That looks... Look, I know that Avatar people aren't real, but that straight up looks offensive. Hello, Gustavo.
It was a weird phenomenon. Even after breaking box office records, the actual excitement for Avatar never manifested itself into a recognizable mainstream fandom. The film came and went, a string of sequels were announced, and everyone just kind of moved on. Well, almost everyone. You see, I chose my words carefully. While Avatar didn't develop an enormous fan base to equal its success, it still technically developed a fan base. A very fringe one. The following years would see the rise of multiple Avatar fan sites like Navi Blue, the Tree of Souls, and Avatar Meet, all made up of fans
Avatar
who were
Meet.
united by Avatar's immersive world building and deeply rooted environmental message. Turns out James Cameron had meticulously crafted a whole world around
And what a
Avatar,
hobby to get
complete
into.
with a rich alien culture, scientifically accurate wildlife, and even an entirely learnable language.
Oh my gosh.
It's quite beautiful, actually.
I feel like I briefly heard about this, like people learning the Avatar language, like back in whenever this movie came out. You are too adorable. Can you be my wife? I'm a male.
I get lost in his eyes. Now, while the fan base was admittedly small, the community was still able to organize yearly in-person events where brightly colored cosplayers could gather, juxtaposed with the
No.
gloomy atmosphere of a dimly lit community center. In 2012, the group gathered at a Best Western in Seattle, where they held a cosplay contest, went to a museum, and capped off the event with a choreographed
It is not problem. Oh no.
dance number. The community also seemed to take Avatar's environmental message very seriously. Numerous past meetups involved nature hikes, camping trips, and even volunteer work at conservation areas. It was incredibly endearing. Avatar fans are kind of like sci-fi hippies that are obsessed with blue aliens and recycling. I don't know, it's interesting. They're like the only nerds that got into something that gave them real life skills, like how to pitch a tent or start a fire. Look,
That's
all
cool.
I'm saying is, in a survival situation, I am picking them over Star Wars fans every time. And yet, when it comes to
So it's just Boy Scouts, but like you have to completely dye yourself blue.
sci-fi, Avatar fans are almost never included in the conversation. They always seem to be disregarded as some sort of weird fringe group of fanatics that
Yo,
never
what's up?
really
Hi, Shy.
got
Welcome.
over the movie. How do I put it? Avatar fans are kind of like the horse girls of the sci-fi world. And I really hope people get what I mean by that, or I am going to sound absolutely insane. Sure, Avatar fans might be unpopular and kind of laughed at by the fans of bigger, more renowned franchises. But if you actually get to know them,
Oh no.
understand them, you'll realize they're actually pretty cool.
I really hope that's not like just blue paint. I'm sure it's like some skin safe paint. I rarely remember Avatar. Yep. I mean, I think that's what this video tries to touch on. The fact that it hasn't had much of a cultural impact, except maybe on this person. Or maybe this person deeply regrets this time in their life. I would like to talk to this person. Just to ask them.
Or they might just try to bite you, I don't know. Regardless, no one can doubt their dedication. I mean, this was a fan base that went over an entire decade with practically zero additional media. There were never any books, there weren't any comics, no spin-offs.
Okay, that must suck. There wasn't anything? It was just that movie? Man. I feel like Star Wars people get a ton of stuff and people still feel bad for them because it's like, you know, movie comes out and it's kind of bad. And then they haven't had any good games in a while, I guess. I wonder if there's like a bigger fan base in like other countries. Yeah, Dubai. They seem pretty hype about it. No, probably literally like I don't think the rest of the world cares about. I don't think anybody else cares about this movie. I mean, I don't know. Maybe China. I mean, maybe because China is a big audience for like big blockbuster films, but they're not. They don't care about this. Not 10 years later, definitely.
There was a video game, not a very good one, but for the
Was
majority
it 10 years? When did this movie come out?
of time from 2009 to 2020.
2009. Okay. Thank you. He answered my question. So, what is that? I can't do math. Hold on. I'm mathing. 9 plus 10 plus wait, no. 11 15 is 15 years, right? Did I do the math correctly?
Avatar fans were riding on the hype of one movie. You can't support a fandom like that. You'd have to
True.
supplement, watch the Smurfs or the,
The
Jungle
Smurfs.
Book. I don't know what these guys like. The most depressing part is reading old posts from fans debating when they think Avatar 2
gosh.
is coming out. Spoiler alert, guys. It gets delayed 6 times. And during that time, Avatar's finite little fan base got smaller.
Kind of crazy
and
that a sequel
smaller.
even came out.
And then finally, after 13 years, Avatar 2 is ready to release. It was almost surreal. At this point, the entire franchise has been in a complete stasis.
And
for-
I thought it would have, honestly, I don't know why I expected this, but I thought it was gonna bomb. Like, I thought it wasn't gonna do well at all, but it's still like, it's like the 3rd highest selling movie or something like that. Like, it's right below Avengers. I even watched the most recent Avatar movie, but I had a hard time with it. Yeah, I also heard that it wasn't that great.
for over a decade and has utterly
There was nothing in between Avatar 1 and 2? Apparently not.
evaporated from the public consciousness. But James kind of just barges back into our lives again. Like
Oh yeah, it's 3 hours. Yeah, I couldn't do that as well. I'd be sleeping. I'd be me.
absent father. Well, sorry, Dad. It doesn't work like that. You see, during Cameron's absence, CGI had progressively ingrained itself into the
Yeah, fan base
DNA
was
of blockbuster cinema.
destined
Pretty
to
much
die.
every major movie in the last decade is utilizing visual effects to the nth degree, which means audiences are kind of used to it. So when looking at Avatar from a retrospective point of view, the movie's visual
Not the
effects
Funko
aren't
Pop.
really enough to impress. And this is quite strongly voiced by audiences.
What's your opinion on U2s? Do you know that brand of vinyl figure? U2s. You know they're called that because they used to only exclusively make figures of like really niche YouTubers. Like they used to like make like figures of like random like political YouTubers. I remember that was like years ago, and now it's like they partner with like Marvel. It's crazy.
By 2022, the general sentiment towards the original Avatar has kind of soured since then. After over a decade of floating aimlessly in the ether of the public consciousness, the eventual consensus was that Avatar was an overrated.
We need the Alois U2s. No, literally, I would literally have anything else. I'd have like a brand of like toilet paper. I don't like those fake. I don't like how they look. I don't. I mean, would I rather have I wouldn't rather have Funko Pop. So I would rather have a U2s than a Funko Pop, but no, I don't want a U2s. Just give me like a regular vinyl figure. That's fine. This little standee, no like the little like 2D standee. Give me that. Keychain, yeah, give me a keychain. That's better.
And forgetful movie that relied too heavily on its wow factor. So when press runs eventually start for Avatar 2, it kind of feels like James needs to work extra hard to remind us why we should even care about this sequel. And it's a bumpy start. I mean, at this point in time, there are people online actively preying on this movie's downfall for seemingly no reason. It almost feels like it's suddenly in vogue.
This
for
is
people
kind of
to
how
hate Avatar, and James has
is
to
kinda
find
how
some way to convince
the internet
people
is.
otherwise. And right off the bat, he's not doing himself any favors. I mean, in one of his first press interviews,
Also, I feel like people are a bit like mad that Avatar is like the best-selling movie ever, just because it's like, you know, it's not like it's maybe like they think that the spot should be reserved for like an actually good movie. That's a understandable thing to be upset about.
he just randomly admits that even his kids don't like the movie, which is depressing.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily big fans of the first Avatar. That's Dad's thing.
Oh yeah, the culmination of my life's work? Yeah, the franchise I will most likely die producing.
Well, how
Yeah,
old are
even my
they?
own flesh and blood thinks this is a mistake.
But they do like the new film.
And it's seemingly
How? How?
gets worse. As I mentioned before, Avatar was known for placing emphasis on its strong environmental message, and Avatar 2 was no different, with a focus placed on themes of ocean conservation. So what could be more fitting than attending a pre-show ceremony in Tokyo consisting entirely of captive dolphins? I mean, look at this. This is the face of a man who is actively trying to look engaged while simultaneously ironing out the logistics of the PR nightmare that will ensue in less than 24 hours. Of course, the actors aren't catching on. I mean, Jake Sully over here seems to love it.
Psst. Hey, Mr. Worthington. You might want to stop filming the fish.
Okay, so to Cameron's credit, he later revealed that he and his cast had absolutely no idea this show was taking place until about 2 minutes.
How is that possible? Man, you directed the movie. You should know what's going on.
Before they walked on stage. Which would have been a pretty good explanation had he not said,
Can I come and be in the show? I want to ride.
and these oversights bubbled into other
Okay.
areas as well. There was also a small amount of criticism for releasing a toy line that almost entirely consisted of plastic. I mean, you had plastic action figures, plastic dioramas, and the mother of all plastic toy waste, blind boxes. I don't know. Whether or not you think these criticisms are valid, it certainly gave off the feeling that Avatar's supposedly deep environmental message was only upheld when it was convenient for the franchise.
Yeah, no. A movie like this doesn't have any message. The message they're trying to make is that money is good and that they should be given money. I don't know. I just feel like really, like, I don't really expect, like, if I'm watching a movie like this, I'm not expecting like a real message.
So, by the time the film was set to release, Avatar 2 was seemingly embroiled in a whirlwind of bad press, negative opinion, and flop projections. Heck, even I wasn't sure how it would turn out, and I'm brilliant. But then, the day of release comes.
Yeah, nobody was
and
talking
after
about
an
it, so I thought it was
uncertain
gonna flop
opening
too.
Weekend, Avatar does it again, baby! 1 billion in the first 2 weeks, 2 billion after a month. That's right, James said it himself. No, seriously, this was an actual thing he said publicly. But no one seemed to care.
All
After
the money.
13 years, Cameron's back like he never left, raining money down on the cynical Twitter plebeians from one of those frickin' Sharkbird things from the movie, probably. And suddenly, we're all left scratching our heads. The movie did well? What about all the hate and the preemptive criticism? Wow, it's almost like negativity sells, and the cynical, outspoken minority will create an echo chamber that amplifies a perceived sentiment that actually isn't widely shared.
True.
Who knew? Now look, just because the movie made money doesn't necessarily mean it was good. And I'm not even gonna get into that discussion. You can check my letterbox. But what it does tell us is that regardless of what the sentiment was online, people undebatably showed out for this movie. And the enthusiasm was only growing. After the release of the sequel, the Avatar subreddit went from a humble 20,000 members to over 200,000 during the course of the next year.
Fan base
And with a
revived.
string of comics announced, a toy line, and a AAA game in the works, it
Wow, they're eating.
actually felt for the first
Avatar
time
fans are
like
eating.
Avatar was here to stay.
So wait, how
sure
old
enough-
is this video? Oh, it's 2 months old. Okay.
The game failed to generate any
Yep.
real buzz. The toys
This game
went on
already came out,
clearance,
that's why I
and
was
the
confused.
post frequency on Reddit eventually settled down to near previous lows. Now, this isn't to say that
I heard that the game was like surprisingly good. I mean, maybe it's just like surprisingly good for Ubisoft standards, which is like just okay.
franchise didn't see a growth in popularity, but what it did confirm was that there was still almost no enthusiasm for Avatar beyond the movies. And maybe there never will be. Like I said earlier, in 2009, Avatar helped validate the theory that movies could be more than a story. They could be an experience, an event. And it was this approach to filmmaking that helped keep audiences in theaters during the rise of home streaming. If it didn't save the silver screen, it at the very least kept it healthy. I mean, just think back on the last 5 years. Avatar was an event. Avengers was an event. Trolls 3 was an event. Maybe there's a little
Trolls 3? I didn't know they made a third one.
bias on that last one, but you get what I mean. Avatar was
No, I think people showed out for Trolls 3. I got a friend who like won't shut up about Trolls for some reason. this movie with like the weird like yeah. I don't know. I just don't like I don't like how they look like those. They look like those like things, those little toys with like the weird hair. I don't know. Are they based on those? Like the little toys? I never liked those though. I always thought those were weird.
A theatrical experience of epic proportions. But what happens to a movie that you've just got to see in theaters?
I think that's intentional. Yeah, I really don't like that.
Does that enthusiasm necessarily?
But I mean, I think I watched the second movie, but not the first. I don't know why. Did you send me a picture of them? I can't remember.
Translate into real pop culture impact?
I'm alive? Yeah. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately.
Well, at least in Avatar's case, no. Either way, it certainly doesn't bother James Cameron. He's never lamented about this in any interviews, and that's because I don't think this was ever his goal. You see, Jim makes blockbusters. He set out to make a high-octane, high-grossing franchise, and that's exactly what he did. So we might never know why the Avatar franchise is a pop culture flop. My best guess is he lost to somewhere in between Blue...
Busy. I at one point, I had like 3 jobs. Like 2 months ago or something. But I've got it down now. Now I'm only working 5 days a week. But I'm like so tired after work that I'm just like, oh, and I have to show up so early as well. I used to always enjoy streaming in the morning. I don't think that's like plausible for me anymore. Maybe on the weekends, but maybe, I don't know, cuz I like staying up late on the weekends, so but maybe I'll have to make a concession. Or I don't know. Or maybe try to stream before work, which I don't know how that'll work. I have to wake up really early. 5 jobs. Yeah, I'm like that one game, what's it called? No More Heroes. I'm like Travis from No More Heroes. Is working like 7 different weird odd jobs.
Blue people tail sex and that one frame from Avatar 2
Blue people, huh?
That is still nightmarishly...
Oh yeah, they have... Oh yeah, their tails. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been able to stream it. It's just not have the energy, really. But yeah, I want to do more streams. It's just like, I kind of like don't have any motivation when I don't have any ideas. I really haven't had any ideas. Or like, I couldn't think of anything like what would be fun. I don't know. Maybe I got burnt out. I don't know.
Uncanny, like...
Or people, maybe... Like, give me suggestions even. Like, because, like, if somebody says, oh, I want to watch you do this, then, like, I'll be like, okay, I'll do that. Like, I just have to have some incentive, I guess.
Jesus, Jim, we haven't seen these characters in 13 years, and this is the first shot you
ASMR. I still have to buy the ASMR mic. I'm waiting on a paycheck.
Hit us with. But I digress. Regardless of Avatar's quirks and obvious criticisms, I was excited to see Avatar 2, and I'm excited to see 3. And 4 and 5 and
Avatar 6 and 7? When? In like 2050? Oh yeah, I got like a Jackbox collection. By collection I mean it has three of the Jackbox games in it. I'd like to do that. I don't know when though. I'd want to schedule it so everybody, or at least as many people as possible, can show up. I don't know what would be a good time though. There's really only 2 possible times, like either like really early in the morning or really late at night, and I think either of those kind of exclude some people. I mean, this week, if it's this week, I guess it doesn't have to be that late at night. It could be at like 8 p.m. maybe. And maybe if it was on a weekend, it would be more accessible, because... Well, I like to just, like, stream late, because I know nobody will disturb me. It's like 11 p.m. onward. But I really should, like, stream earlier, like 8 p.m. Maybe. Because like streaming to like 3 a.m. is kind of like, yeah.
Oh my god. But I think the reason I'm excited is because
I mean, I have to get up early tomorrow, but I guess I'm just gonna wing it or something.
in a world of reboots, nostalgia cash-ins, and 2-hour commercials, when you see original blockbusters like Avatar, you want to root for them. You
Hold on. Bup.
want them to do well, because whether you love the films or hate them, it's still better than the impending
I stayed awake on call with my BF. Sleep calling. E-dating. Sorry. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Mattel Cinematic Universe. They want to do a movie about the 8-ball. You hear about that?
The
frickin' 8-ball!
The 8-ball? What can you say about the 8-ball? E-dater detected? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. That was one video. I've got like a lot more. Oh, the chapters. Okay, next. Ooh. Okay.
When Shino Carolina
I love this channel. It's called Japanalysis. Japanalysis? Japanalysis? I don't know. As children watch them play Val while drawing? That sounds nice. This title, bruh. Wait, okay. White woman becomes Japanese. Immediately ruins her life. Huh? I'm intrigued. How does one become... Wait, huh? Huh?
When Shino Carolina accepted her crown as Miss Japan, she didn't realize she
Wait, she won Miss Japan? How?
had made a huge mistake. It was her dream, but as the spotlight turned on her and her most
It's
embarrassing
her?
secrets were
You know this person? Whoa.
exposed to the entire
Wowzer.
world, she had to accept the truth. She
Wait, her husband was one of the judges? That's crazy.
was set up by an
Okay,
incompetent
she's mixed. Okay. Well, like, white woman becomes Japanese. That's a little...
company, and now
Inflammatory.
her life was ruined. This is the real story of the most hated woman in Japan. This might not be what comes to mind when you think of a Japanese person, but trust me, Shino Carolina is as Japanese as they come. I'm talking rice and miso soup for breakfast levels of Japanese. She's been in Japan since she was 5, so she's lived her entire life there, from elementary school to university. Japanese is the only language
That she had to give up her crown because she was dating a married man. Oh. Is that what he said? I don't know. I couldn't, maybe I misheard.
she knows, and if you don't believe she's fluent, listen to her gush over who's the hottest One Piece character.
トラファルガーロートラファルガーロー身長が191センチ
But as you could imagine, Carolina never really felt like she fit in Japan. In elementary school, she was bullied for her big nose and blonde hair.
What? Why is the video so mean? Oh no. This is so
Her whole
unflattering.
life, not fitting in
What?
always bothered her. Japan was her home. She wanted to be accepted as Japanese. So what if she became
It is
Miss
crazy.
Japan?
私自身が
You know what? Now I'm on her side. She's like, she got bullied and she was like, I'll show you. I'll become Miss Japan. Then see how Japanese you are. I don't know. It's kind of admirable, but I know it's not going to end well,
日
so
本人とし
let's
て
keep
通
watching.
用するのか評価していただけるのか試したかった
But first, she had to meet the requirements to enter
I
the
kind of think it's
contest.
inspirational
So
at this
what
point.
are they anyways? To be Miss Japan, you need to be between 17 and 26 years old. Carolina's 26. Check.
You could extend that a little. You can go to 35.
Unmarried. Check. and have Japanese nationality, which Carolina didn't have because she was born in Ukraine.
Oh.
So she quickly filed the paperwork and became Japanese just before the contest deadline. But
I mean, is that easy?
there's something weird going on here. What is this? Isn't the contest supposed to be called Miss Universe Japan? Yeah, this is not the contest you guys think it is. Basically, in 1950, the Japanese government wanted to thank America for relief after the war, so they hosted a Miss Japan contest to choose an ambassador. They only did this twice. Then, 16 years later, this guy, Wada, has an idea. He wants to market his company, Wada Labs, so he revives the pageant and uses it to promote his new diet, Wada Figuring, where you only eat 9 foods and take a 45-minute bath once a week.
What?
He has no competition, so it works, and he becomes the guy for dieting in Japan. Even Emperor Hirohito's wife, the Empress of Japan, went to him for advice losing weight. But Wada is a bit of a weirdo. In the 80s, he invents this device called a showerer, which you stick up your ass to clean your colon. And that's it. That's literally all the Wada company's ever done. I mean, look at their website. It has 3 sections. The Wada Figuring Diet, the showerer, and the Miss Japan contest. They still run the pageant to this day. It has nothing to do with Miss Universe Japan. Even the BBC got this wrong. It's a big difference. The Wada pageant is nowhere near as prestigious. I mean, they do like trash cleanups. When's the last time you saw Miss Universe doing a trash cleanup? The winner of Miss Universe Japan qualifies for the international pageant, where they compete against the Miss from each country to become Miss Universe. But the winner of the Wada contest? Well, that's it. There are no playoffs. The winner doesn't have to compete anymore, so the judges can kind of select whoever they want. Speaking of judges, this is where the corruption starts.
It wasn't even like serious.
There are 25 of them. The first 7 are 2 members of the Wada family and their employees. Then the next 7 have 5 public figures, one of which is this guy who refuses to get out of his chair. Honestly, big alpha move, I respect it. And then they have 2 past winners of the pageant judging. 7 from Team Wada and 7 from the public. Feels a bit Wada heavy, but whatever. So who are the other 11 judges?
Wada heavy.
Well, they're all representatives or CEOs of these random companies. Or at least I thought they were random companies until I checked the sponsors list of the pageant. Then everything became crystal clear. Yeah, the Wada family makes their money by selling judge spots at the pageant. Of the 25 judges, 18 of them have a conflict of interest. These sponsors want as many people to check out the pageant as possible, and that goes double for the Wadas. So crowning the only white contestant as Miss Japan is a genius business move. It's basically guaranteed to create controversy and make headlines all over Japan. By the way, Miss Universe Japan does not
She looks
sell
like
judge
uncomfortable.
seats to sponsors. They only have 7 judges who are all ex-winners or accomplished women from society. Maybe you don't buy it though. Miss
Yeah,
USA,
that sounds a lot
which
better.
is Miss Universe USA, by the way, was won by an Asian woman in 2022. So why does Carolina's win need to be a Wada conspiracy? Is it really your skin color that makes you Japanese?
Yeah, I feel like it's different though, because in America, like America is like it was like a colony, so like a bunch of it's like ever since it was like founded, it was pretty much like understood that it's like kind of a melting pot, right?
Take Steve
I feel
Aoki,
like
for example.
that's a bit
He's
different.
Japanese, but he's never lived there and doesn't speak the language.
Konnichiwa, motherfuckers. We are in Fukuoka. I can't read Japanese.
It's not a bad thing, by the way. I'm Dutch ethnically, but I don't identify with that part of myself at all. But think about it statistically. When 7% of the
The same goes with me as well. Like I kind of have an idea of what I am ethnically, but like I don't. I'm like, huh? Like really? And then I just like don't. Like, I'm not gonna like learn a language just because like my grandma is like is like from a certain place. You know, I don't really care.
the US is Asian and Arbany Gabriel wins Miss USA, it's not the craziest thing in the world. But when Europeans make up this little of your population, so little that I can't even see a blue pixel here, we can say that Carolina's win was a bit of a statistical outlier. Out of the 2,500 women
Americans
who entered
weren't
the
even on that
contest,
list.
is it
That's
really
crazy.
likely that Carolina won because she best represented Japanese values? Or is it more likely that the WADAs chose her in a short-sighted marketing decision? The worst thing is, it worked.
C のカロリーナさんでしたご本人にお越しいただくことが
Тайжан Xiangzhuan Huangguan 2024
Pід Miss Japan Пічуніги періодично перепитую у мами та бабусі
Carolina Shino, who won this year's Miss Japan.
But soon, the Wadas realized they made a huge mistake. But first, a message from our sponsor. Media bias is everywhere in today's world, and you can even see it in Carolina's story. It's working to revolutionize news consumption. If you want, thank you Ground News for sponsoring today's video. After Carolina's win became the hottest topic in the nation, tabloid magazines started prying into her private life. They put their best PIs on the case and prepared for a long investigation.
Dude, I hate tabloids and journalists and everyone. I don't know. Or these kind of journalists that just like do this kind of stuff. It's just why?
Nah, just kidding. They immediately found that she was having an affair.
Oh, okay.
Wait, an affair? Isn't Carolina single though? Well, yes, but Carolina was caught on a date with celebrity plastic surgeon Maeda Takuma, and he's married. You might think, so what? That's his problem. But in Japan, it's not. Over there, if you sleep with a married person, you're at fault.
Flashing lights weren't. Oh my. Holy.
And I don't just mean by the media. If you cause a divorce by doing that and you knew that they were married, you could be sued for up to $20,000.
What? What? By the guy? Why? But the guy, it was his decision to sleep with her. What did? Huh?
Luckily, Carolina had a good defense. Dr. Chad pursued her first and lied that he was already divorced.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what the statement that her and the Wadas put out said.
Oh.
So, turns out she didn't do anything wrong. And from there on, she lived happily ever after. Yeah, nobody believed that. And within a few days, Carolina was forced to make another statement where she told the truth this time. Yeah, she lied. She knew he was married and she kept seeing him anyways. And the affair had been going on.
I mean, it's a little on her, but I feel like it's more on the guy. I feel. It's like, I don't just like stop. Just like don't. Just like don't. Just like no. I don't know.
For like 3 years. You can imagine the shitstorm this caused. First, Carolina was immediately dropped from her agency, and then Miss Japan stripped her of her crown. For the first time, the Miss Japan title was vacant. There was no Miss Japan 2024. Carolina, whose goal in the contest was to finally be recognized as Japanese, not only failed at that, the entire country now hated her. And Japan isn't exactly the easiest country for a tall white woman to lay low. Her punishment was pretty harsh, especially considering she isn't even the one who cheated, but it's par for the course in Japan, to the point where people who think their partner might be cheating are financially incentivized to hire a private investigator to gather evidence so they can sue.
Jeez.
I know this because some of my friends have done it and gotten paid out. Another reason people hire investigators is because in Japan, you need your partner's permission to get a divorce. Otherwise, you have to go to court. PIs give you evidence of adultery, which can help you get divorced. You want to know the craziest part? Famous white women in Japan get canceled for this all the time. You don't believe me? Meet Becky. Half British and half Japanese, Becky used to be on every TV program in the country. I'm serious. You couldn't turn on the TV without seeing her. But in 2016, Becky disappeared. What happened? Well, it was the exact same as Carolina. Tabloid magazines got a hold of chat logs showing a secret relationship between Becky and a massive Japanese rock star, Kawatani Enon, the lead singer of Gesu no Kiwami Otome, a really famous band. Becky and Enon were getting pretty serious, and even though he had a wife, Becky says she was in love with him. He even took her to meet his parents. Of course, Becky knew Enon was married, so when the chat logs leaked, she had to lie and say they were just friends. But just like Carolina, that didn't work, and the truth eventually came out. In the end, she had to hold another press conference where she admitted to everything and apologized to his family. But it was too late. Becky was done. Enon, on the other hand, got off scot-free. And then, not even 1 year later, the exact same thing happened with another celebrity named Maggie. Half Canadian and half Japanese, Maggie also had a secret relationship with a rock star. And yes, he was married. Naturally, when their secret got out, Maggie faced...
Bro, it's like... Just think about it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if this like super famous rock star is doing it with this woman, then he's probably got like 5 other mistresses. So, like, why go after one person just because she's white? It's like, I don't know. It's so stupid.
Repercussions as well, although nowhere near the level that Becky did. She now runs a YouTube channel called Maggie's Beauty and the Speed. Oh, I get it. It's like Beauty and the Beast. Haha.
The
But clearly
speed.
something's out of whack in Japan when the women who were single are getting punished more severely than the men
Yeah,
who
exactly.
cheated on their wives. They're not completely innocent, especially since in all of the cases they knew the man was married, but this Japanese phenomenon of the men getting off scot-free while the women have their lives ruined is a bit strange. In Carolina's case, people hated her before they even found out about the affair. Right after she won, people were already saying things like, maybe it'd be okay if she was half Japanese, but someone with no Japanese blood as Miss Japan? Okay, so let's say they got their wishes, and there were new rules that say you had to be born in Japan and have Japanese blood to win. Also, a lot of people blame Western beauty standards for biasing the judges to select Carolina, stuff like big eyes, double eyelids, and lighter skin tones that are popular in Japan.
All the women beside her were like equally as pretty though.
So let's say we want to select someone with darker skin this time. Even if they picked a Miss Japan who followed all these rules, the Japanese public still wouldn't be okay with it. And you know how I know that? Well, it happened. It happened back in 2015 when this lady, Miyamoto Eriana, won Miss Universe Japan. And do you think the public was okay with it? No. They had the exact same reaction they did for Carolina. She's not Japanese enough. You know, despite the fact that she was born and raised in Japan and has a Japanese mom, this time they demanded someone with pure Japanese blood. Who do they think they are? Draco Malfoy? Something funny is they tried to dig up dirt on her too, and the best thing that they could find is that she was smoking cigarettes in high school. Miyamoto was smoking underage and Carolina's cheating. Foreigners have such bad character. It's like, bro, are you kidding? These are like your national pastimes. If anything, it makes them more Japanese. So anyways, I think everyone in the story sucks.
True.
The WADA company sucks the most for putting Carolina in a difficult position for their marketing.
Japan still has a lot of like restaurants that still allow like smoking indoors, which I think is kind of crazy. I would hate that. I would hate that if I walked into a restaurant, people were just smoking. I wouldn't want to eat there.
Chad sucks for cheating on his wife. The Japanese media sucks, specifically tabloids, for holding women like Carolina, Maggie, and Becky to such high standards, while celebrities like Yamapi can get caught going to hotels with underage women and get off scot-free. Actually, in that case, the underage girl ended up apologizing to Yamapi for negatively impacting his career.
What the hell,
Some
man?
people speculate that the reason the standards are so different is because the main consumers of this media are women, specifically housewives. When a hot rock star cheats with a single woman, they feel jealous of the woman, but feel like they might have a chance with the man if he's willing to cheat. At least that's what my friends told me when I asked them why this happens. Honestly, Carolina...
The way the vid title had me thinking she died or something. I mean, it says immediately ruined her life. I didn't take that as dying.
Carolina sucks too. Yeah, she didn't cheat herself, but she was the affair partner of a married person. And she had to know that if she won, her secret was eventually going to get out. Oh yeah, remember this from the intro? A lot of people believe this, but it's a lie. Dr. Chad likes to enter muscle competitions. He actually won Best Body Japan in 2018. And he is a judge, but not for the WADA contest, for a different contest called Best of Miss Tokyo. Also, when people heard Carolina's affair partner was a celebrity plastic surgeon, a lot of people thought that it was this guy, Takasu Mikiya, a plastic surgeon YouTuber, and he got a ton of hate online. Actually, he's the one who originally turned me on to the idea that the judges might be corrupt. So
he did what?
I started looking into the WADA contest, and he was 100% right.
結構その審査員って金で買えるんですよ。これ業界の人はみんな知ってると思うんだけれど、一般の人はね知らない人多いと思うんですよ。僕のところにもよく来るんですよ。審査員やりませんかってね。ただそれはもう協賛として広告出してお金出してで審査員をやる。だったら誰でもお金払えばやれるじゃんって。そんなのミスコンなのって僕は思っちゃうんですよね。
Yeah.
There's one unanswered question that I need your help with. Carolina has always maintained that the only language she speaks is Japanese. She was even asked about this on TV. She said she does not speak Russian or Ukrainian. But then how do you explain this?
У мене мама українка, вдома по-українськи говорить, а в школі по-японськи. Я
Huh?
думаю по-японськи.
Is she a native speaker or is her Ukrainian really bad? I mean, I have no clue. Please, someone let me know in the comments. By the way, I've made a part 2 of this video that's actually pretty funny. It goes into more detail about Carolina's family, Dr. Chad, the history of the WADA family, and then it gives some updates on the Big Motor and Scammer Girl story.
What? I'm not going to your Patreon. Oh no. She wanted to be treated like a regular Japanese woman, and in a twisted sense she was. Damn. I wonder what she's doing now. I still feel bad for her though, because like it's one mistake, and like whatever, like super hot rich guy, he's willing to cheat on her. She probably just wanted like free, like, I don't know, like free, like penthouse suite vacation, whatever. It's like, whatever, young people make stupid mistakes. I hope she's just not like miserable though.
Hello, I'm Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft.
Huh?
In this video, you're going to see the future.
Whoa, the future. Oh yeah, the Xbox showcase just happened as well. Maybe we can watch that if we still have time.
Alright, it's 2009. Pigs are flying, everything has this aesthetic, and Microsoft has just announced a groundbreaking new piece of tech
This is slow start again. This is the avatar person.
at E3. Utilizing the latest
It's
advancements
definitely not as... The budget isn't all there. Okay, this is a year ago, so this is before they stepped up the production.
in motion capture, Project Natal, as it was initially named,
I think I prefer this though. It's not so ADHD.
was a new device for the Xbox that aimed to win audiences over with pure wow factor. The main goal of Natal was to bring families into the
I never
gaming
used the
equation
Kinect.
by taking controllers out of it, and this resulted in an intuitive get-up-and-play experience that made it easy for any demographic to play and enjoy.
I like
For
the
2009,
Wii though.
It was pretty damn impressive.
I mean,
and
obviously,
in the
everybody
eyes of
had a
many
Wii.
Consumers, it made Sony and Nintendo's motion tech look kind of obsolete. But that night at E3, Microsoft
Is this whole stream video essays? Welcome to my sick, twisted mind, I guess. This is what I do. This is what I watch. This is what I consume. Usually this is the kind of stuff I would just like... When there's... No, not white people. When there's video essays at that function. I'm being called out. It's true, though.
managed to continue the hype train. You see, after the unveiling of Project Natal, another speaker would take the stage to present a tech demo for Microsoft's new hardware.
You know, I want to just say one thing to you, and that's the word interactive.
That's Peter Molyneux, game designer for the Fable series and former creative director at Microsoft. And what he's about to share with this audience at E3 will echo in eternity as one of the most intentionally deceitful unveilings in Microsoft's history. In his presentation,
Intentionally
Peter claims to
deceitful.
have developed an experience with Natal that he thinks will fulfill every gamer's
Is it loud
lifelong
enough, by the
dream,
way?
to build
Can you
an
hear it
innocent
clearly?
yet intimate relationship with a 10-year-old boy.
Huh?
What? Oh, you guys just wanted Fable 3? Oh, shit. In the demo, Peter introduces us to Project Milo, a game about a boy that can
I've definitely
supposedly
seen this.
see you, hear you, and actually get to know you through the screen.
Hi, Milo. How you doing? Hi, Claire. You okay?
By making use of the
Like, I've
Natal
seen this
hardware,
character
Peter
before.
demonstrates how players can seemingly interact with Milo through free-flowing conversations, giving the impression that the character on screen is somehow capable of independent thought.
I mean, I mean, they're probably pretty close to this now, but I feel like you still couldn't even like pull something like this off. The grandfather of AI chatbot. They had AI chatbots way before. Wait, hold on. There's like the first... Hold on. I need to look something up. When... Yeah, literally, the Turing test, which was like the first test of like artificial intelligence, like basically like two people were like fed like a message or something, and they're supposed to guess if it was like a person or a chatbot. That was in 1950. So yeah, we've had chatbots for a while. I don't know a lot about this, but like, was this actually like a... Did they actually have like artificial intelligence back then? 1950? Really? That doesn't sound right. I mean, maybe. That's crazy though.
Here we're seeing Claire being recognized, and the emotion in Claire's voice being recognized, and that emotion reflecting in Milo's face. Those are all being seen for the first time.
At first glance, it looks quite impressive. Yet the way Peter describes it, you'd think...
I love the old, like, video game marketing tactic of just straight up lying. Like, the amount of times they would just lie. They would just lie. It's like, yeah, video games have kind of gone to the wayside. Like, kind of, you know, say whatever you want about modern gaming, but at least they don't like straight up lie in marketing anymore.
I think his team had just stumbled on
At least
the
not to
means
my knowledge.
creating sentient AI. And something tells me that's kind of what he wanted us to think. What's worse is that one look back at the comments section for this presentation proves that we bought right in. Of course, there were skeptics, but for the majority, people really thought Milo was a game changer. Literally.
Also,
I mean,
even if this was real, what, like, you would play with it for like an hour, and then you would just drop it. Like, it's not that interesting.
audiences were more excited for this game than the actual hardware it was demoed for. Not to mention the potential this kind of AI had for countless genres in the industry. The problem? It was all complete bullshit. The demo was fake, the actor was acting, and Peter was essentially lying through his teeth. Or was he? No, I'm just kidding, he was. He totally was. And this was most certainly not the first time.
Isn't that like illegal?
You see, Peter was notorious throughout the industry for overpromising, exaggerating, and flat out lying about upcoming games. I mean, you could probably score the rest
And that has
of
to
this
be like
video
false
with the
advertising,
flight
right?
of the bumblebee, and it would match the tone for the level of chaos this man has caused.
Could have easily caught a
But
lawsuit for that.
Milo was his magnum opus, a lie so deceitful that it crossed the point of outrage to just actually being kind of impressive. By utilizing his arsenal of clever word choice alongside demo footage that mainly consisted of smoke and mirrors, Peter managed to convince an entire generation of gamers that he had developed a technology 50 years ahead of its time. What would ensue was a roller coaster ride of PR shenanigans, miscommunication, backpedaling, and deception that would ultimately amount to nothing. But to understand how this happened in the first place, we need to take a look back at the man himself. Peter. Oh, Peter. After founding Bullfrog Productions in 1987, Peter Molyneux would leap headfirst into game design with a focus on population sims. You know the ones, those top-down games with disembodied hands that control everything in the game world.
The fancy 3D mouse cursors, I love those. You gotta write a book on the art of lying.
Concepts were fascinating
true.
to Peter.
That is like an art. I'm not good at lying.
That allowed his knack for
That's why I can't play
ideation
Among Us.
to really shine. What if you were the owner of a theme park, the keeper of a dungeon, or the deity in charge of an entire island? Peter's games put the player in complete control, which ultimately helped redefine the scope for what games could actually be about, and usually with outstanding results. Throughout his time at Bullfrog, Peter would make leaps and bounds within the simulation space, known well for his early adoption
He just
of
got like a
artificial
Bionicle chilling
intelligence
there.
and his invention of the God game genre.
God game?
This would eventually lead their longtime publisher, Electronic Arts, to acquire the
God
company
Gamer?
in 1995. Unfortunately, EA's acquisition changed the way Bullfrog developed games, and Peter, who was unsatisfied with the changes, left the studio in '97 to pursue a new venture. This would ultimately lead Molyneux to found Lionhead Studios.
Is he just
with
reading
a
off of
handful
Wikipedia?
Of other ex-Bullfroggers. From there, Peter would spend a sizable chunk of money from the Bullfrog deal, investing over $6 million into Lionhead's first game.
I think he's just summarizing Wikipedia.
After 3 years of development, Black and White released in March of 2001 and was met with widespread critical acclaim. The game was praised heavily for its accomplishments in artificial intelligence, even appearing in the 2003 Guinness World Records for having the most intelligent being in a game.
That was before they had the gaming. Do you remember? Does anybody remember the Guinness the Guinness Book of World Record Gaming Edition? Does anybody remember that? I remember that. It's like a fake game you'd see in a movie. You're so right. Look at this thing.
These accomplishments were what ultimately solidified Peter's belief in AI, inspiring him and his team to pursue further research on the topic. So, that same year, Peter would officially launch a research
I used to
project.
go nuts over the book. Dude, the Scholastic book fairs went hard. Yeah. I would always get them. I would want the gaming record books. I want the Guinness World Gaming books. I'd want the Ripley's Believe It or Not books. And I want like the cheat code books that are like 1,000 cheat codes for like a bunch of different systems. And it's like a big book of them. And you gotta sort through it. You gotta like read the glossary to find, okay, yeah, Lego Star Wars is on page 523. Okay, I'm just gonna flip to that. And then you try the code and it doesn't work. And it's like, this is how you find cheat codes. And I don't know what year this could have been. But yeah, I was legit doing that because I didn't have internet until much later than I should have. That's for sure.
The goal of their efforts was to develop a game that was smarter than anything ever seen on the market. A game that, years from now, would eventually become Milo. But until then, Peter would codename his venture Project Dimitri. You see, Peter loved code names and had a quirk of introducing and changing these names every time he spoke to journalists.
Code name?
Throughout his career, there was Project Dimitri, Project Ego, Project X, Project Milo. I mean, for a guy that couldn't keep his mouth shut in front of journalists, he sure did love secrets. And this problem had certainly become evident throughout his career. Up until this point, Peter had already begun developing a reputation for himself as somewhat of an overpromiser, notorious for making outlandish claims about features that would be included in upcoming games. Peter would later confess to even making up new features on the spot just to keep journalists interested. And that problem would only grow worse when his company released Fable in 2004. To build excitement for the game,
go crazy
Peter
over
would
Fable.
make all sorts of false promises for Fable, which ultimately ended
I'm not a
up
Fable
hurting the
fan.
game's reception among fans.
I never owned an Xbox, so there's like, I got like no nostalgia for like Halo, Fable. What else do they have? Gears of War, I guess. Those are like the only 3 things I can think of.
To give you a better idea of what I mean, here's just a few. 1. Peter said that Fable would be a completely open world with 0 invisible boundaries. 2. Peter said you could have children who take over as the playable character if you die in the game. 3.
That's so
Peter
stupid.
said you could plant a tree and watch it grow to fruition in real time.
Why?
And so on. Of course, none of these promises actually made it into the game, and probably caused most of his development team to slam their heads through drywall. The worst part was that Fable was a good game that just happened to fall flat because of heightened expectations. Some may write this behavior off as a passionate game designer getting overly excited about his game. But no matter how you twist it...
You think he's just like, let's see how much I can get away with. Maybe. Or he's just like a egomaniac. Yeah. Some people are just like that. You know, like just like narcissists that just like have to lie about everything to seem like greater than they actually are.
Peter's big mouth was just plain unprofessional.
Big mouth.
It was starting to affect his reputation. After Microsoft acquired Lionhead in 2005, the suits would attempt to remedy this issue by keeping a PR team around Peter at
That's
all
why they're only
times.
on Xbox.
This was done to ensure he didn't get himself into any more trouble.
Yeah, these nasty PR policemen that are all around me as we speak.
I'm not allowed to talk about the PR guards that are standing at the back, shooting daggers with their eyes.
Obviously, I can't answer questions like that because I would get killed for if I announced it.
Just say I wish not to answer that. Like, what are you doing?
Probably wondering, well, how does Milo fit into all this? And you'd be right to ask that. Well, sometime in 2007, after many years of experimenting, Peter had finally found some direction for Project Dimitri. For roughly 6 years.
Don't say like, oh, the PR gods. Like, bro, just say like, we're not ready to talk about that feature yet, or like, we're not ready to say, or we're thinking about it. Like, just do say anything. That I don't know.
Lionhead's research into AI game systems had never actually resulted in a full game. Sure, many of their advancements made it into other games as features, but nothing quite managed to harness all of their efforts into one single title. And now, with pressure from Microsoft to actually return results, Peter needed to finally turn his passion project into profit. So, in 2007, Peter pitched a brand new idea to his associate Gary Carr.
Peter pitched the... I was gonna turn that into like a tongue twister.
Who was then an executive producer at Microsoft. This new idea would build upon everything the team had worked on with Project Dimitri, but under a completely new name. You see, by 2007, codename Dimitri was kind of a bad word around Lionhead, and had become somewhat synonymous with failure. So, in order to improve morale regarding the project, Peter would codename their new venture Milo, named after the game's protagonist. Development for Project Milo officially began in 2007 as a sort of simulation centered around the life of one individual. This, of course, took Peter's usual formula of population-based sims and flipped it on its head. Instead of a simulation involving multiple people, Project Milo would be about just one.
Is that the only reason they did that? Because it's like, you know what would be funny? Instead of managing a bunch of people, you just have one person.
Actions in
That's
the
so
game
stupid.
would determine who Milo grew up to be.
Nobody wants to play this.
It was basically a glorified parenting sim, except instead of taking the role of an actual parent, you were...
Yeah, nobody's gonna play this. They want to play like Nintendogs. Literally just have this game, but instead of Milo, it's just a dog. And the dog wouldn't even have to understand you. It could just like bark in response to anything you say, and people would actually love it. You could like simulate like throwing a ball or something with the Kinect. Dude, Xbox, hire me. I know you don't sell Kinect anymore, but they should hire me.
Friend or mentor or slave? I mean, the first prototype literally just had
You got Nintendogs, so the Xbox version can be X dogs.
doing Milo's chores, and from what I've learned,
I'm very creative.
It didn't sound incredibly impressive. But, according to Peter, Project Milo was utilizing an impressive display of AI technology, combining advancements made with Project Dimitri alongside Microsoft's own research.
Why does it sound sus? X-Dog? No, it doesn't. We would call it... Remember when people used to call the Xbox One, they would call it the X-Bone. Remember that? Or when people would type it out, because it's like... They would do like XB and then 1. So they just call it the X-Bone. Maybe we could call that X-Bone dog. I don't know.
Incredibly proud of, leading him to suggest in an interview that their achievements could eventually find them on the front page of Science magazine. An important thing to note, though, was that until this point, Project Milo was strictly being developed for use with a controller, and there was absolutely no knowledge of Project Natal up to this point. That was until 2008, when one of Peter's associates at Microsoft spilled the beans. Turns out, a group of Microsoft engineers had been working closely with an Israeli tech company to bring motion sensing hardware to the Xbox 360. This technology was first introduced to the world at the 2006 Game Developers Conference by a company called PrimeSense. At the convention, PrimeSense revealed a revolutionary new device capable of sensing and mapping.
I bet it's like military technology. They definitely developed this thing for the purpose of like detecting like I can't make that joke.
Human bodies in real time. At this point, the tech was still in its early stages, but it showed promise, which was illustrated through PrimeSense's earliest concept videos. And while many of these demonstrations looked impressive, the production quality was a bit more akin to a Tim and Eric sketch.
So, what was the name of that movie you told me you wanted to see the other day? How about that one?
is this an actual ad? That looked awful. Man, you literally, okay. That motion he's doing, that's like pretty close to what it's like to like type on like type using a hand like type using hand tracking on like a Meta Quest headset. And it's like it's awful. This looks so good in a disgusting way. You can like reach out and like tap the buttons on like a floating keyboard, and it's like the jankiest thing ever. And alternatively, you can like point to it and then like tap your fingers together, and that's so janky as well, because like the cursor that you're controlling with your fingers is like it's like so janky, and it's like it's really easy to miss. But yeah, typing like this, it's not fun.
How about that one? I have to order pizza. Oh.
What do you think? I have to order pizza?
Hey Greg, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Play back tomorrow night.
Okay, bye. As cheesy as these demos were, the concept most certainly caught the attention of Microsoft, and especially Peter Molyneux. This would lead Peter to completely rework Project Milo to incorporate this new hardware, which Microsoft had codenamed Project
That reminds me of that trademark that I think Sony trademarked it, but it would be like a system where while you were like playing a game or watching TV, like an advertisement would just like a full screen advertisement would just like pop up. It would be like for example, it would be like McDonald's. And in order to like skip the advertisement, you'd have to stand up, put your arms in the air, and say McDonald's, and then the ad would go away. And they trademarked this concept.
Natal.
Oh my
Peter
gosh!
now envisioned a game where
That's the future we would have been living in if our game console still came with cameras like this.
Players could actually speak to Milo through Natal, and Milo would, ideally, respond back. Microsoft ran with it, and for roughly the next year and a half, Lionhead would double the size of their team to help steer Project Milo in this new direction. This would set off the chain of events that would eventually lead to Peter's infamous demo at E309. Contrary to popular belief, Project Milo was not entirely a hoax. As misleading as it was, the video Peter showed at E3 was technically not a complete fabrication, because Lionhead was showed at E3
the feature demonstrated here actually worked. Oh, that's crazy. Man, that's actually cool.
Technically not a complete fabrication, because Lionhead was really working on a real game. And after the incorporation of Project Natal, Milo was actually capable of a handful of impressive feats. He could understand over 500.
I kind of want someone to. I kind of want to see a playthrough of someone play this now.
Words recognize the color of your.
But with like a 2024 perspective, you know.
Clothing and
maybe he will
interpret the tone of your voice.
Wait, he made a 35-minute video about this game and he doesn't even play it. Are you kidding me? You can still go out and buy it, you know. Like, what is an Xbox? Like, you can get an Xbox for like $30 on eBay, and then just like get a copy of the game for like another $30.
This was all real technology that the Lionhead team was working on.
I know this video made like $8 million. Stream idea? I said this guy should do it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't even know, like... I guess I could. No, I'm not getting an Xbox for that. I already waste too much money as it is. It's like, that's like the most wasteful stream idea.
The problem? It was still pretty janky. Developers who worked on the project admitted that it was a challenge to.
I don't even know what I'd do with an Xbox. What is this, Xbox 360? I don't even know what I would do with it. I don't even know where I'd put it.
What made this situation more dire was the fact that later that year, Project Milo was set to be unveiled at E3 alongside Natal. So, how would they do it? Well, they'd stage it, of course. I mean, was it really that big of a lie as long as the game was actually being developed? Well, yes, especially when you consider the way the demo was fabricated. Just a few weeks before E3, Lionhead would hire an actress to help stage their presentation, and worked with a film crew to produce it. And look, staging certain aspects of a technology for the purposes of ensuring a smooth presentation is maybe arguably one thing. But the creative liberties that were taken with Milo's demo made implications that grossly exaggerated the capabilities of the actual product. And this was the factor that ultimately landed Peter in such hot water. Now, let's jump back to E3 2009, where Microsoft has just finished unveiling
If it's not legal hot water, then it doesn't matter.
The tech is impressive, and kind of steals the show from Sony, who unveiled a wand-based version of their own motion tech the same night.
That racket is actually in the virtual world. It's in Anton's hand.
Next to take the stage is Peter, who I can only assume is engaged in some sort of weird pre-show ritual behind the curtains, very a la Joker.
Hello, Appa Ini? I don't know what that means. Does that mean anything?
I mean, you gotta be a little crazy to pull a stunt like this in front of the entire gaming industry. So, Peter makes his presentation and introduces Milo to the world.
Hi, Milo, how you doing? Hi, Claire. You okay? Actually, I'm a bit nervous.
Why is he British?
You? Nervous? I don't believe it.
On first watch, the video actually looks pretty convincing. But as we come to find, Peter is using a mix of both deceptive gameplay footage and clever language to mislead the viewer. The interactions presented in the video make the implication that players can have complex, free-flowing conversations with Milo, and can come to form deep personal relationships with him.
Listen, I was thinking...
Nowadays, if they made this game, it would be like you would tell him something, and it would be like 20 seconds later. He would just be like standing there processing it, and then 20 seconds later, you would just spit out like some chat GPT response.
Thinking today you should let me.
We're still getting there.
Again.
We're not there quite yet.
You finished your homework. You have finished.
I mean, people have already made like Skyrim mods, where like you can speak to the NPCs and they just speak back with like a AI generated dialogue, but it's, you know, it's not great.
Your school project.
What happened there is that Claire knew Milo so well, she knew when he was worried about something.
Of course, as you can probably tell, this entire...
We're watching a video about Project Milo. Do you know about Project Milo? Do you know this kid?
Interaction is scripted. There's even moments in the video where Milo...
Are there really Skyrim mods like that? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I saw it. It was like a AI... I don't know what it was called. I'm not someone who heavily mods games, but it's something I've definitely seen a video where like someone had a mod like that installed.
Appears to remember seemingly impressive details about the actresses.
I don't think the dialogue sounded anything like the characters though. It was kind of just like a generic AI voice, but it was still kind of like, I don't know. It's like a cute gimmick, I guess.
His personal life.
Science fiction is not...
No idea what this is.
Did you catch that? Apparently Milo...
It's some like Kinect, Xbox 360 Kinect game where like you're supposed to be able to talk with this child, and it's supposed to be like he's supposed to be some like super intelligent AI that would like respond to you and stuff, but they were lying.
Just on a whim remembered Claire's mom's birthday, which once again tries to reinforce the idea.
I don't want to talk to children. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, why would anybody want to play this? Like, why not make like a Nintendogs kind of thing? And that way you wouldn't even have to like simulate like a human. You could just like do barking, and like it doesn't have to even understand what you're saying if it's just barking.
Idea that the two actually have a relationship. Later on in the video, Milo leads Claire to a pond where Natal's capabilities for motion capture are shown off a little bit. Yet, for some reason, even a basic
And nowadays, someone's going to try to make this, but it's going to be like with the girl from like Stellar Blade.
Game like this was faked.
And that's going to be
Upon closer
something.
inspection, you'll realize that Claire's movements are not entirely in sync with her reflection. For one
You think they're going to bring back the Kinect for the AI revolution?
reason or another,
I hope
this
not.
entirely
That can stay
pre-rendered
dead, I
scene
think.
has the actress superimposed into the reflection of the water, forcing Claire to memorize her original movements and attempt to perform them in sync with the footage on screen. This obviously leads to errors, and quickly becomes Exhibit A for many skeptics trying to debunk the video later on. But what proves to be one of the most glaring oversights of the whole video is actually a matter of perspective. Let me explain. When you're viewing any sort of portrait from your viewpoint, the subject of your gaze appears to follow you wherever you move around the room. It's why paintings like the Mona Lisa seem to always be watching you, even if you change where you're standing.
Who painted the Mona Lisa?
So why isn't Milo doing that? Yes, he's looking at Claire, but we're not looking from Claire's perspective. This is, of course, once again, because the entire video was fabricated.
Don't XD at that. That was lazy.
When the
That was a
team
lazy
putting
joke.
together this demo, they found that Milo's natural line of vision would be directed towards the camera, ultimately ruining the immersion they wanted to create between Milo and Claire. So, they faked it, and in a blatant rejection for the laws of perspective, the team re-rigged Milo to look slightly to the side to look at Claire. As you can probably tell so far, practically none of the aspects of the video were actually real. Shocker, I know. And even if certain footage represented aspects of the game that did work, it was far easier to just fake the whole thing. For example...
Wait, is this the first VTuber?
Towards the end of the...
Because they kind of just had like a kid in a motion capture rig for this.
...presentation, Claire would draw a picture of a fish and hold it up to the camera.
God, I hope not. I mean, I don't think it was live. Because she's rehearsed this. But when I think about it, any like video game kind of thing that was captured with motion capture would be like, is that a VTuber? Just a pre-recorded VTuber. Ain't gotta deal with the kid like that? What's wrong with being a VTuber?
Image into the game world and look at
Don't
it
answer
himself.
that. I know what's wrong with it.
And funnily enough, this tech actually did work in a live demo setting. Turns out Milo had an incredible knack for recognizing drawings through the Natal camera, and even learned to identify specific objects through machine learning. It was actually one of the things Milo was best at, and there was even talk of improving the tech so that Milo could learn to identify new drawings as you showed them to him. Of course, the reins were pulled back on this to avoid making Milo an expert on identifying crudely drawn penises. But the take-home here is that it did actually work. So, in summary, what Peter essentially showed the audience that night was a demo of a game that did technically exist, but the format in which they chose to present that game took way more creative liberties than it ever should have. And what did that result in? Possibly the most misled outpouring of enthusiasm a
I
game
literally
has
have
ever
goosebumps.
seen,
Come on, bro.
apart from a few other titles. People were losing their minds about this game. I mean, if Milo was really as true to life as Peter had claimed, then this would have massive implications not only for gaming itself, but technology as a whole.
Assassin's Creed mentioned.
Later that night, after the E3 press conference, a select group of journalists were picked to actually meet Milo and demo the project for themselves. And this is where things started to take a bit of a turn. While the demo was impressive, many playtesters would quickly come to see through the smoke and mirror tricks used to give Milo the illusion of sentience. For example, Milo could understand words, but only certain ones, and those words had to be given within the correct context to be understood in the first place. If you asked Milo something yourself and he didn't understand, his code would prompt him to either politely nod or shake his head, which made many attempts at communication just kind of fall flat. If you tried to tell him a joke, sometimes Milo could read the tone of your voice and interpret it as such, emitting a laugh. Of course, Milo didn't actually get the joke and wouldn't comment on it.
What is the tone of a joke?
It was part of the illusion the game tried to convey. Most journalists remarked on how if you played Milo by the rules, you could actually have half-decent conversations with him. But any, and I mean any attempt to go off script would immediately poke holes in the illusion. But the journalists' impressions didn't really do much to quell the excitement for the game. Just like any hype train, once it gets going, it's kind of hard to stop. So, E3 2009 ends, and Microsoft is swarmed with enthusiastic journalists chomping at the bit for details about Milo and Project Natal. And the excitement is palpable.
So, tell me more about your role
He
with
looks
Project
excited.
So I'm essentially the technical director for the technologies that you saw. So from our perspective, the inspiration really was could we actually
Why did she just shut down?
into the gameplay so that we could create a system
Oh,
whereby
she's listening.
Of course, Peter does a few interviews as well, and you can rest assured his PR team is standing just outside the frame.
What is the objective? Well, I could...
The PR gods.
You know what? I would love to tell you that. I could completely tell you. I could go through the story. There's, an amazing story. But I have given myself a rule that I will not talk about things unless I can show them. But it is definitely a game.
Hell, it's been a while. Remember me?
When asked if players can
Maybe.
expect a release date for Project Milo,
I don't know.
Peter ensures that development is in full swing, and while a release date cannot be given, the game is most certainly expected to be brought to market. Yet strangely enough, that would be the last time we'd hear of Milo for a very long time. The following year, E3 2010 would come and go
Yeah,
without so much as a
that's
word
what I was
from
thinking as well. Like, what do you mean story?
Milo, and fans definitely had some questions. But this time, they got different answers.
He's, the Milo project was something that Lionhead Studios in their labs had developed. And obviously that's a tech demo and technology that continues to...
Oops. I love how I was like, obviously that's a tech demo. Oh, wasn't supposed to say that.
It's not a game that we're planning to bring to market.
That was Aaron Greenberg, a PR executive for Microsoft who made that statement sometime in 2010. Shortly after that, Peter would go on record
Wait, does this game not exist? Is this why he hasn't played it?
to quite condescendingly
Can you not play this game?
denounce Aaron's statements. It was a weird era in the game's development where, depending on who you asked at Microsoft, your answer on Project Milo was completely different. Behind the scenes, Peter was in a sort of power struggle with the higher-ups at Microsoft. After roughly 3 years in development, Project Milo, now called Milo and Kate, was failing to meet the expectations Microsoft had in place for the title. And it definitely
No, this game should had to have come out. Because I thought I remembered seeing it.
didn't help
I
that
thought I saw it in like bundles.
Peter had
or something.
wildly
Connect
raised
bundles.
those expectations back in 2009. Worse still, Microsoft had significantly pulled back on Project Natal's hardware capabilities.
Milo's
attempting to cut
cancellation.
costs by downgrading the
No, Milo got canceled on Twitter.
device's processor,
I hate that.
which
That's my first
subsequently
thought.
narrowed the scope for Project Milo. Fast forward to mid-2010, and fans are wondering when and if
Can't
they'll
believe I
ever
spoiled
get
myself.
an update on Milo's development. And finally, after over a year of anticipation, Peter would eventually break his
Free
silence on the
Milo.
project. This update would come in the form of a TED Talk, which was already a really bad sign.
Ooh.
If Microsoft actually had realistic plans to release Milo, they would have announced it at E3 2010 earlier that year. But clearly the game's release
No, my worldview is shattered. What do you mean there's no actual Milo game?
had reached a level of uncertainty that could no longer justify a feature at the event. So instead, Peter opts to quietly demo the game at TED Global, in what could be seen as one of the most egregious attempts at backpedaling I have ever seen. I mean, what Peter demonstrates to the crowd at TED Global is almost a completely different game from what he showed fans the year before, and the way he introduces it just makes it all the worse.
So, a year ago, I showed...
And also, if it was just a demo or something, like even if it wasn't completed, just like list it for free on like the Xbox store or something.
this off at a computer show called E3.
Computer
Really, Peter?
show.
A computer show? This comment was either a sign that Peter was getting old, or rather a feeble attempt to avoid mentioning the word video game to what I
Oop.
can only assume is a slightly older audience.
This was a piece of technology. It was someone called Claire interacting with this boy. And there was a huge row online about, hey, this can't be real. And so I waited till now to have an actual demo of the real tech.
Wow. Peter the Brain.
It's a roundabout way of saying, yeah, it was fake.
Molyneux has done it again. Who knew this was his plan the whole time? No way this was some...
Like, yeah, that was cool, but here's the real tech. It's like, what about before? That wasn't the real tech, so you're just lying?
sort of half-baked attempt to backtrack on false promises made for a game that was built on misleading footage and blatant lies. It was just a primer to get us excited for the actual game. Okay, but really though, have you ever witnessed a more blatant admission of guilt? I mean, he literally comes out and says this is the actual demo of the real tech. At this point, he's not even trying to hide that the game was a lie. And then he has the audacity
That's
to
what
try
I
and
said.
put a bow on the
That's
whole
what
thing
I'm
by
saying.
pinpointing his team's one sole goal.
Just to get to this one simple idea.
Simple.
To create a real living being in a computer.
Oh yeah, Peter? That one simple idea? You mean the idea that modern technology hasn't even come close to cracking? The idea that could one day lead to technological singularity, subsequently blurring the definition of what it actually means to be human? And you found that on the Xbox 360? Listen, I've really tried to cut Peter some slack in this video,
let's go.
but the way he talks about creating Milo like he's some sort of 21st century Geppetto is just really, really annoying. Yet he still tries to redeem himself with what appears to be some newfound attempt at transparency.
Now, I'll be honest with you and say that most of it is just a trick.
Wow.
So you lied.
There's a reason I'm spending so much time on this intro. I mean, with every sentence, Peter just finds a way to dig himself into a deeper hole, and it just keeps getting funnier.
So why don't we go over and have a look at the demo now?
Like he presented this in front of like a bunch of like random old people instead of just like actual like gamers or Xbox fans. Because if he did this at like an Xbox event, it's just like, yeah, by the way, we lied to you. They would like start throwing their shoes at him. Like there's no way he would have the gall to do that in front of actual gamers.
This is Dimitri.
Wait, this is Dimitri? Like the Project Dimitri? Turns out this part isn't a lie. Apparently the
Dimitri's a real guy? Yeah, no, but this crowd is like, yeah. Who's this kid on the screen, bruh? Computer? I think I know what that is.
The original project was named after his godson the whole time, who actually worked at Lionhead on the Fable games. Who knew? Now comes the actual demo.
Dimitri is real.
Honest demo. And there's one key difference right off the bat. It appears as though this time
It looks
we
a lot
have
worse.
a real person playing the game live. Finally, the curtains have been drawn back, and we can see some real
Dimitri is
gameplay
playing
for the first time. Let's check it out.
So, he's discovering the garden. You're helping him discover the garden by just pointing out these snails.
Huh?
So, the demo finally begins, and what we appear to get is some sort of on-rails snail spotting simulator. It's a bizarre way to start, especially considering the bold claims Peter made about Milo in the intro.
That's so...
As the camera rolls
okay.
along, Milo finds another snail on the ground.
This is for like
at which
3-year-olds?
point Milo encounters his first test of morality. Turns out Milo has a thirst for blood and sadism,
Morality.
and toys with the idea of squishing the snail underneath his shoe.
Why?
At this point, Dimitri is prompted to use voice commands to either encourage Milo's behavior or stop him.
Do it.
Do you want Milo to squash it? When you see the microphone,
Destroy the child.
say yes.
Squash.
Squash.
No, that's the right thing to do. No, that's the right thing to do.
Milo has
Well, that was unexpected.
changed.
But what doesn't come as a surprise
Oh my
is how
God.
the voice recognition system has changed.
Milo's gonna grow up
You'll
to be a
notice that
murderer
in this
now.
new demo, there are explicit prompts for when you can actually speak to Milo. Of course, this wildly contradicts Peter's first demo of the game, in which it's heavily implied
That reminds me of like the Heavy Rain text. How it would be like all shaky and stuff. I don't know if you ever played or seen gameplay of Heavy Rain.
that speech is free-flowing and spontaneous.
It's a goofy
At this
game.
point, the presentation continues for another 6 or 7 minutes, where Peter demos a handful of other incredibly boring minigames. But what makes it funny is how these demonstrations are always accompanied by long-winded boasts of how the game is so much more sophisticated than it actually looks.
His face, by the way, is fully AI driven. We have complete control over his blush responses. The
he just looks uncaring.
His mind is based in the cloud. If you're leaning forward, he would slightly change the neuro-linguistic nature of his face. You're actually
what?
He's sculpting.
He's making up words.
We've got a database of words which we recognize. We pick those words out. We also
apparently he hasn't read the database of words because he's coming up with new ones.
Reference that with his the tonation database.
In all honesty, I would imagine the audience was bored to death by this presentation. After 3 years in development, the game just looks so incredibly underwhelming, and one can come to understand why Microsoft felt the same way. This is also made evident by the presentation's view count, which is dwarfed in comparison to the millions of views garnered by the first demo. So it may come as no surprise to learn that shortly after this presentation was made, Microsoft would permanently shut down development for Milo and Kate. This was of course due to a multitude of different factors, and can't be simply attributed to one reason. Speculation points toward the fact that Milo was being developed during
Now I feel bad for saying, why do they play the Milo game? It doesn't exist.
a time when the Kinect was still trying to understand its target audience. As the project evolved,
what a twist.
Microsoft would opt to target demographics engaged in party settings, which kind of put Milo's mellow, single-player gameplay into an awkward category. It's also fair to speculate that Microsoft closed development due to false expectations surrounding the game, which were set so high by Peter's outlandish claims. Whatever the reasons, the news came as a devastating blow to the Lionhead team, who were all incredible.
Oh, I came up with a concept for a Kinect game. It's like a dating simulator, but like your date, like your virtual date can like read you like your sitting posture, so they can tell if you're like a like if you're like a beta or like a Chad. I don't know. So dumb. It's so dumb. Because like it can like kind of detect your motion, right? Or like, you know how the Kinect works. So like I don't know, like it seems like your posture, like you're kind of like your arms are like are crossed maybe, and then it like your virtual date gets like unimpressed with you because you're crossing your legs or something. You're not spreading your legs wide enough. I don't know. This is so dumb.
Incredibly excited about what they had built up to that point.
You're not manspreading enough.
Project Milo really utilized state-of-the-art technology that resulted in many impressive features. There was formidable voice, image, and even emotional recognition that genuinely
I don't know where I was going with
as
that.
Impressive features for its time. So it came as even more of a disappointment when the team was forced to recycle all of their progress into a watered-down spin-off for the Fable series. The way Microsoft saw it, they weren't going to let 3 years of technological development fall through the cracks without making a little cash, so much of Lionhead's research
just make it a tax write-off.
ended up being reworked into a new Kinect game set in the Fable universe. Suddenly, Milo's emotional recognition was being repurposed so players could develop bonds with in-game horses, and Milo's hand tracking became the foundation for casting spells. It definitely wasn't the kind of closure the Lionhead
That looked like me at the function.
team wanted for Milo, but at least it was actually released. Unfortunately, Fable: The Journey was received poorly for the Kinect, with its main failing point boiling down to, you guessed it, false expectations. Initially, Peter Molyneux swore up and down that the game would not be an
Every time I swear he like pronounces the name differently every time.
on-rails experience, but upon release, fans would come to find that exploration within the game was entirely linear, and players were certainly not happy. After Fable's failure on Kinect in 2012, Peter would leave Lionhead permanently to pursue yet another independent venture. Due to reasons most likely pertaining to Milo's cancellation, Peter felt as though
hopefully
Microsoft's
he
hold on
never
Lionhead
hopefully he
was
never sets foot in video games or anything ever again, because this guy seems like a scam artist, to be
becoming
honest.
too much of a creative barrier, and was disheartened with the company's decision to can the project. Peter would then go on to found his third new company in the gaming industry, 22 Cans.
Huh? I've never heard of that.
Unsurprisingly, though, Peter's new venture would fall prey to much of the same behavior that he was known for previously, with a sequence of scandals and false promises.
What's inside the cube?
That would continue as a result of his presence in the media. It seems like no matter what team he was a part of, Peter was always finding ways of getting himself into trouble. As for Milo, well, it's been almost 10 years since anyone has spoken about him. Many ex-Lionhead members went on to call.
He was the cube guy? Is this like a thing I should know? What is the cube? What is the cube? Do I need to watch the cube? What's inside the cube? The app that fueled it. Curiosity, the app that fooled everyone. Should I watch that?
Call the project filler, or a tech demo that accidentally wound up in production.
You gotta watch the cube vid. Okay, I guess we're watching the cube vid.
And some at Microsoft deny it was ever a game in the first place. In 2012, Peter was asked about his thoughts on Microsoft's decision to cancel Milo, and in a brazen attempt to deflect all blame, claimed that he felt the industry just wasn't ready for it. Somehow, Peter had convinced himself that Project Milo was just too ahead of its time to be brought to market. And I guess if you consider all the lies he made about the game, then yeah, he was right. At the end of the day, it's kind of a shame. If Peter had just focused more on what was possible with Milo instead of what could be possible, we might have actually seen the game released. And who knows, it might have been half decent. But the truth was, Milo's technical capabilities just weren't advanced enough to meet the expectations put in place for the project, and the ideas that actually made Milo exciting
we're watching
just
Cube
weren't
next.
ready to be made a reality. But now, with breakthroughs in artificial intelligence occurring every other day, we may not have to wait too long before we see another company take a crack at the idea.
This video was like a year ago, right?
Let's just hope that, unlike Peter, they've got the proof to back it up. Thanks for watching.
Cool. Alright, let's watch Cube.
The Apple App Store. Tens of thousands of various applications, from games to utilities to those weird completely
What was
pointless
that?
ones. Thousands
Hold
of
on.
various
We got more
the Apple
ADHD.
App Store. Tens of thousands of various applications, from games to utilities.
Can I have a glass of water? One.
To those weird completely pointless ones like the lighter.
Yeah, that beer drinking game where you like hold the phone up to your face and it would be like you're drinking beer.
The one where it looked like you were drinking a beer and you tilted the phone. And in the words of any middle-aged tech enthusiast, there is an app
I'm so dumb.
for everything. Well, back in the ancient year of 2012, the App Store was truly thriving. Classics like Draw Something, Instagram, and Angry Birds Space.
That old
which was just like the
Instagram
original
logo.
Funny Bird game, but in space.
Here is Pig.
Not to mention the classic other gems that were released years prior. So with the App Store relatively new and booming, it was only a matter of time before keen developers were trying to get their
It's echoing? Wait, what?
piece at the apple pie.
Wait. No, wait. It shouldn't be echoing. Oh, you think it's your problem? Okay. I was scared. I thought like, oh no, was the audio messed up the whole time?
And become the next big thing. Well, somewhere in England, English game designer Peter Molyneux was going to take his piece of the pie.
Peter Molyneux. He's back.
And he was going to eat the shit out of it. Now, some background context on Peter, as he's a pretty integral piece to all of this.
Hey,
the
Peter.
real star of the story. It was the 1980s, and Peter was out selling floppy disks loaded with games for the Atari. And after enough selling here and there, he quickly discovered it was the games on the disks that was making them sell, and not the disks themselves. So, realising the potential of selling video games in the early 80s, Peter went ahead and made it.
Floppy disks. I don't think I've owned a floppy disk. I'm not that old. Though I'm not one of those people who are like, what's a floppy disk? What's a VCR? I'm like, I know what all that stuff is, but I think I had a VCR player at one point.
His very own game, The Entrepreneur, a text-based simulation game about running a business, a commentary on large video game companies at the time. Well, Peter was ready. He manually duplicated hundreds of copies onto tapes and advertised the game through a free ad slot in a gaming magazine. He was certain the game was going to take off. In fact, he was so certain he thought his letter...
Wait, they're on cassette tapes? Huh? I think.
The box would be too small for all the envelopes from avid customers, so he quite literally cut a larger letterbox into his door. So with his stock ready, his advertisement public, and his letterbox enlarged, he waited and waited. Finally, the sales figures rolled in. A whopping 2 copies, one of which was from his own mother. Yeah, it was a
Epic.
total flop. So Peter did the reasonable thing and went from game designing to selling baked beans in the Middle East with his buddy Les Edgar under the company name Taurus Impex Limited. Now this name is important because believe it or not,
This is a bit of a different story than we got from the last video. I feel like in the last video we got like a Wikipedia entry article about this guy, and now it's just like now he's selling beans.
Commodore International, you know those guys that made computers back in the day, Commodore 64! Mistook Peter's company, Taurus, for a much larger networking company at the time, Taurus. So during his shipping, unbeknownst to them, Commodore had reached out to Peter and offered to give him 10 free Amiga systems to help port his networking software. Now Peter had 2 options here. He could be honest and come clean. Hey guys, I think you've made a mistake. We're Taurus, not Taurus. But then he wouldn't have any free PCs. So of course, he accepted all 10 Amiga systems.
He was a scam artist. He was always a scam artist.
Activate Beans and produced a networking software for the Amiga. And even after coming clean to Commodore, they released the software to moderate success.
Oh,
the money from
okay. They actually did it somehow.
This that allowed Peter and Les to start Bullfrog Productions in 1987, and things
This sounds like a
really
fake story.
took off. After porting Druid 2 Enlightenment to the Amiga, their first real release was Populous, that went on to sell over 4 million copies in 1989.
Populous, you must see it. It is the greatest game I have ever seen.
What?
They also made Populous
Who is that?
2, Theme Park, Magic Carpet 2, and Dungeon Keeper. Bullfrog Studios
Oh wait, Dungeon Keeper is like a big game. I didn't know they made
was
that.
then acquired by EA in 1995, and after a night of drinking with friends, Peter left Bullfrog and founded Lionhead Studios in 1996. They went on
Project Milo also sounds like a fake story when you think about it. Yeah, you just wouldn't think anybody would have the gall to just straight up lie. That's the thing, right? And you didn't think like Microsoft would like risk their reputation on like a dude who is constantly lying? But like maybe I'm starting to think that maybe Microsoft didn't know that this guy like actually didn't have like a super intelligent futuristic AI. Like they just believed him maybe.
To produce, I don't know, the entire Fable series. They were then acquired by big boy Microsoft, and after the release of Fable The Journey in 2012, Peter left Lion's Head to start work at 22 Cans.
Yep, yeah, this is where we left off in the last vid.
That it all went a little bit wrong. So, we're back up to date. It's 2012. The App Store is ripe and ready for the taking. And Peter, with his skills in game design and Middle Eastern bean transport under his belt, has a concept for an app. Something big, a game of sorts, a social experiment, played by millions all at once, contributing to one end.
I remember there was like this one viral app on the App Store called like, I think it was called like, You Can't Afford This app or something. What's the topic? We're just watching random video essays. Yeah, there was like something like, you can't afford this app, and it was like $1,000 or something, and the app did nothing, but it was just $1,000, and people still bought it. That's the craziest thing, man. I wish I was around for that. I could have made so much money.
End goal. Well, Peter came up.
I mean, I was around. I was just like a dumb idiot kid, so I wasn't making anything.
Cube. A giant cube made up of billions of tiny cubelets. The idea being that players would slowly chip away at the cube simultaneously over time to remove layers. Well, this idea would go on to become 22 Can's first game, an app named Curiosity. But to remove confusion with the Curiosity rover that had landed on Mars a few months prior, the name was extended. Curiosity. What's inside the cube? And that's what would really matter.
I never heard of this.
What was in the center of the cube? Peter promised that what lay at the heart of the cube was life-changingly amazing by any definition. So with the concept fully realized and people excited for this mysterious app's release, Curiosity swiftly entered.
This sounds so like corny.
development and was submitted to Apple on the 28th.
Like, guys, you won't believe what's in the cube. Yeah, I mean they're cool, but like, it's like he's a great marketer.
September 2012 for a planned release of just
But he's not. he's not like a great business leader kind of guy.
a few months later on November 7th at 12:22 a.m. Or at least that was the plan. Unknown to 22 Cans, Apple released the game a day early on November 6th. So Peter, who was at a conference in Israel at the time, frantically flew back to the UK and got the Android version out the same night. Well, within 3 hours, Curiosity had over 100,000 downloads, putting major strain on 22 Cans servers, leaving thousands of avid players unable to
What even was like? What was the gameplay?
even get in to access the cube on the opening night.
Access the cube.
Which quickly led to the app being review bombed down to 1 star on the App Store. Not the most ideal release. But thankfully, by the morning of the 7th, the initial intended release date, things had somewhat improved. A maximum of 32,000 players could access one server at a time to reduce load. So finally,
You won't
the
believe the
black
gameplay.
cube was unleashed to the public, and over the next few months,
You just tap squares.
people got to work,
Oh,
frantically
I
tapping
see.
away at their phone screens, millions upon
Goddamn.
millions of individual cubelets being removed every hour. By November 8th, just one day
That's a pretty like, and you're all working together. That's a kind of neat concept.
after the planned release, the first layer of the cube is chipped away, consisting of 100,614,150.
Like, could it not be a little more interesting though? Like maybe it's like a hack and slash game, and you're like killing monsters. Why is it just gotta be tapping cube? I guess this was like early day iPhone. It was pretty much every like app or game back then was just like what if thing, but you tapped on it.
2 individual cubelets. 2 days later, on November 10th, layer 2 was gone. By November 25th, 20 days in, 43
Yo.
layers had been removed. As layer after layer was gradually
Thinking of
worked down,
Helldivers
the
2?
cube slowly
True.
started to change and evolve, different colours and images being revealed over time, and strange white text would float around the faces of the cube.
And a Ubisoft game called For Honor also had a system kind of like that, where when you first played the game, or when you first like booted up the game, it would ask you like what faction you want to join, and then from then every win that you got would like count towards your faction, and there was like a campaign map and stuff like that. It was a lot like Helldivers, except instead of like the people versus bugs, it was just like 3 different groups of players. Like it was like heavily skewed towards like one faction, so they just won all the time. That's what I remembered. It was like the factions were like Knights, Vikings, and Samurai. And I was Knights. I think the Vikings always won though.
After enough time,
Yeah.
plays became invented.
It was Knights,
using
Vikings,
the surface
and
of the cube
Samurai.
as a canvas of sorts to carve out messages, patterns, and suggestive artwork. Now each cublet you chipped away at would grant you coins that could then be used in an item store of
Coins?
sorts to buy different tools to mine away at the cube.
That's cool. This is just like Cookie Click. Like people, I can see a market for a game like this.
Faster. Some players even produce manual robots to
Bruh.
help mine away at the cube to increase their riches. A small group of die-hard players had racked up a coin count upwards of multiple billions, until 22 Cans
my
had a
God.
major bug that wiped every single user's coin count in a matter of seconds.
Huh?
In fact, whilst the project had this godlike, mysterious aura around it, behind closed doors it was far from plain sailing.
And what were people expecting? Like money? I don't.
The server issues from the opening days had only worsened as more players poured onto the app. Developers were pulling 36-hour marathons to try and improve the back end. They added a PayPal button to the game to help raise funds for server costs, but after raising $900, it was removed as they didn't feel that it
$900.
fell in line with the approach 22 Cans wanted. And to make matters even worse, Peter had fallen ill with food poisoning. But this didn't deter anybody. Curiosity was the perfect formula. It was addictive and easy with their basic concept. When you're bored, you boot up the app, chip away a few cubelets here and there, and then move on with your day. But when you had nearly 3 million players with the app downloaded at its peak,
Damn.
it became something of a big deal in 2012. I mean, I genuinely remember going into school and everyone would be sat tapping away.
Really?
Each
I didn't
player
see
tunneling
this.
to be the first to the centre, to be that one individual to break that last singular cublet.
I guess this was a bit. I don't know. When was this? They said 2012. Where was I in 2012? Yeah, no. I would have been like in middle school, probably. Maybe. I'm not sure actually. That would have been way like before anybody I knew had a smartphone.
To claim the life-changing prize sealed inside. Well, on the 26th of May 2013, after 6 months, 2,000 layers, and a suspected 69 billion cubelets, it happened. The cube had finally been completed. Peter announced in a tweet that the experiment had come to an end. One individual had broken the final cubelet, and that the winner had been notified. So,
Oh, that's what it was?
who was the lucky
It's
winner?
just the final person gets it? That's lame. What about all the people? What about the people who built like automatic mining contraptions? What do they get? Hi, Axotopple.
To achieve the feat that no other had. Well, it was 18-year-old Edinburgh resident Brian Henderson. The alert flashed up within Brian's Curiosity app, congratulating him, along with a 22 Cans contact email address. Brian had done it. He was the only one to reach the true centre of the cube and receive the life-changing prize at the heart of the entire experiment. What was this miracle gift that Peter had promised? Millions of dollars? A contract of sorts? A business proposition maybe? Well, people continued to speculate about the contents of the cube, until, later that day,
What's in the
video
cube?
was uploaded to the 22 Cans YouTube channel. Although as Peter himself stood inside a bright white cube, he confirmed that the experiment had ended, and finally,
This looks so
revealed the
bad.
prize. He announced that 22 Cans were working on a new game titled Goddess,
We are making a game called Goddess.
a sandbox village building god game where you played as
So this is just an ad. This is just an ad for like a game that they wanted to make.
God. And he explained that whoever reached the centre of the cube will be rewarded with the God of Gods role within the game.
You, the person who would reach the center, will be the god of all people that are playing Goddess.
Along with a percentage of all of Goddess's total revenue.
Every time people spend money on Goddess,
Did this game even come out? I'm gonna have a guess and say this game never came out.
you will get a small piece of that pie.
Why is this like... This is like I'm being spoken to by like God.
Now, from what I understand, this God of Gods role was part of the multiplayer mode of Goddess and would allow Brian, in this case, to control the entire multiplayer experience, with players across the game being
What if
able
he,
to
what if he didn't want to do that?
challenge him like some sort of Dark Souls boss. Okay, so sure, it was a lot different from what people expected. It wasn't a fat wad of cash or anything. But hey, a percentage of all revenue from a game made by the man responsible
You
for
played
the
this game
entire
before?
Fable series
Really?
could be pretty life-changing. And the God of Gods role is pretty substantial if the game grew
I'm
and had a large
wicked.
active community. I mean, imagine taking a game that's played by millions and you being the figurehead individual that most people that play the game probably know. Now for Brian, he just casually downloaded the app, broke a few blocks, and finished the cube. He was an ordinary 18-year-old studying graphic design in Edinburgh, and being born in 1994,
Baby.
his childhood games would have been more down the PS1 route, not the
Mm.
Atari. He'd heard of Fable, but never played it, and besides a video with the Yogscast, he had no idea who Peter was.
So
Well,
he's-
hopeful of his newly earned
He's just not interested.
prize, Brian hesitantly reached out to 22 Cans through the email on his app. Brian typed out a lengthy, thought-out email. Did I win? Yes, 22 Cans
Yes.
replied, asking Brian for his full name, where he's from, and provided him with a contact phone number. According to an interview with Eurogamer, Brian was pretty casual about the whole thing. I mean, it had come out of nowhere, really. But the idea of a large sum of cash off a huge game was a pretty exciting prospect for an 18-year-old. Brian recalled being swarmed with interviews by media outlets and
Whoa.
receiving thousands of new Twitter followers off the back of the news. He received a text from Peter, writing, "If Goddess is successful, you're going to have an amazing year." And a week later, 22 Cans had organised for Brian to visit their offices and paid for his flight and travel. So Brian eventually arrived
That's
at
cool.
the 22 Cans HQ and was greeted by Peter himself. Now this was big. This was the day that Brian's life would change forever. He was going to sign a contract that would potentially grant him hundreds of thousands,
That's
maybe
flashing in
millions
this
of
video.
dollars. Not to mention that God of Gods role. Or at least, that's what should have happened. Instead, Brian was placed in front of an early, half-finished, rough model of Goddess with basic functionality, and ended up sitting there for 3 hours straight, until it started to get dark. Until he was eventually taken into a side room. Finally, there it was. The contract. What all of this was for. One singular pen stroke and Brian's life would be changed forever. But what exactly was the percentage cut of revenue that Brian would receive?
Any guesses? I'm gonna say like 0.01 or something. I don't know.
10%? 15%? 20%? 1%? Brian...
Oh. I wouldn't even complain about that, to be honest.
was legally promised 1% of all revenue from Goddess, and that
Like, if it made $100,000, you would get $1,000. But I guess back then it wouldn't have been as promising. But nowadays, if it's like you get 1% of all revenue made by like Diablo Immortal or like Genshin Impact, I'd be like swimming in gold, like Scrooge McDuck, because that's a lot of money.
almighty God of Gods role, while the multiplayer mode hadn't even been developed yet. And thanks to the wording of the contract, nothing actually stated that 22 Cans had to deliver on their promises to Brian. Of course, a somewhat deflated Brian signed regardless. I mean, what did he really have to lose? Then to round the night off, 22 Cans took him to a local pub, where they apparently had their backs to him the entire night, until staff member Tony brought over some Jägermeister. Peter didn't even turn up to the pub in the end, and caught a flight to a games convention. I mean, that's exactly what you want from a life-changing prize. 3 straight hours on a half-produced game, a slither of the revenue, and a Jaeger bomb from a middle-aged game developer. It wasn't all doom and gloom though, because Brian was sent home with a signed poster and the t-shirt.
Bruh.
Yeah, that's crazy.
After his visit to their offices, Brian would repeatedly email the 22 Cans team, just to try and get some sort of idea on what was happening. Weeks turned into months, and after a year of regular emails, Brian lost hope. Goddess had launched on Steam Early Access by this point, and they'd even announced Hub World, the multiplayer feature of the game that would theoretically implement Brian's God of Gods role. Brian did eventually receive an email from 22 Cans financial chief, Peter Murphy, not to be confused with Peter Molyneux. Who knows, maybe everyone at 22 Cans is called Peter. The email simply said they'd get in touch, but to this day, nothing. Brian hasn't received anything. Not a penny from Goddess,
did not get
no
in
God
touch.
of Gods role, no contact with 22 Cans. Although, after the mess of the whole situation, Brian didn't really seem to care too much. So in the end, Curiosity's prize, to put it lightly, was shit. Eurogamer did eventually reach out to Peter about the whole situation, and if it wasn't already obvious enough from the Steam reviews, he revealed that the state of 22 Cans was dire, with the mobile version of the game only just bringing in enough cash to keep the company afloat, as well as numerous layoffs only making things worse. They say that Curiosity killed the cat. Well, it seems it also killed an iOS game development studio. 22 Cans also released a second game, Goddess Wars, for some reason, in the middle of development for Goddess, that of course didn't perform any better. Curiosity was a tale of something unique and exciting. The concept was really clever, especially back then.
What does this say here?
And it'll always be an interesting memory in the back of my head. But Peter, of course, grossly overpromised on the prize, and it all fell apart. Peter has kind of made a name for himself in the gaming industry when it comes to false promises at this point, saying certain features will be in his games.
He does seem kind of like a pathological liar.
More than we've polished anything before. The greatest role-playing game of all time.
Getting fans excited.
Or maybe he's just British.
To build hype, then the game's releasing with said features seemingly missing.
And I found a glitch in the game where you can move, but your main guy just stands still.
Your main guy.
Those features.
Now, whether this is deliberate or naivety and unachievable expectations on Peter's part, who knows? But Curiosity was the perfect example of this. Peter had promised a life-changing prize for the game, in a haze to try and raise hype for the Black Mirror-esque social experiment, and poor Brian was caught up in the middle of it all. And as for Brian, I can only assume he's living a relatively normal life. 22 Cans have seemingly given up on Goddess and released a game called The Trail on the App Store in 2016. And as for Peter, well, actually, what is Peter doing? He's working on an NFT game. Of course he is. Well, I guess we'll see where that one goes, eh?
Not surprising.
And with all of that said, goodbye.
But now that NFTs are broke, I wonder what he's doing now. You think he's doing AI stuff? He's definitely doing AI stuff. Like, definitely, right? Somebody look at his Twitter.
Hello, I'm Bill Gates.
Wait, hold on.
Chairman of...
Okay, what videos we got now? Got a Mr. Who's the Boss video in here. I don't think I want to watch that. Oh, here's another video. I'll move this to the front. From the same guy. Since we're on a roll. Let's find out. I could look. So what is this? Peter Mullen. How do you... I just guessed. Okay, autocorrect saved me. Okay, I'm gonna look at his Twitter X thing. He hasn't tweeted since 2022. And he says, "Hello, Twitter. Feel slightly scared to be tweeting again. But I guess fortune favors the bold. Would love to share some interesting inspiration and thoughts." And then he just doesn't tweet anything after that. Great, thanks. Is this right? Yeah, that's it. He doesn't update his Twitter that much. That's weird. Yeah. I'm not showing it. I'm just looking through his Twitter. Because he's just not active on Twitter. What is 22 cans doing? Probably nothing. Yeah, dead in the ground. Probably.
Boy, oh boy, what a day. I aced the English exam, I scored 2 goals, 1 assist
What
in
is going on
hockey,
here?
and I smell like the most amount of money a 13-year-old boy can comprehend.
Yo, what is that? Is that chocolate chip cookie deodorant? That goes crazy.
Like $1,000. You know, I didn't even know I liked girls until my mom bought me this stuff.
Oh, wow, okay. You think I'm lightheaded?
Oh, it is about Axe.
Wait until you think about how the ladies are.
I haven't used. Actually, no. I up until recently I was using because it was a gift. I got a gift, and it was Axe. It was Axe antiperspirant. It wasn't deodorant. It was antiperspirant. And that's all right. It does the job. Gift from Anonymous? Wait, what? Did I miss something? Oh? Nah? Okay.
Gonna be. It's crazy. Girls don't even say I smell bad anymore. They say I'm like whatever the opposite of smelling bad is. Check this out.
Oh no. Must be so gross.
Yo, Chris, is my pee? You know, this feels irresponsible, but it turns out I actually haven't developed the part of my brain that recognizes.
Is that real? It looks like he's editing that in post.
Is that yet? All right, that's probably good. Now, if you'll excuse me, gym class is over, and I must commune with my like-minded peers. Oh my God, it's in my eyes. Oh, it's in my eyes. Just give me like 5 seconds. Whew, okay. Oh my God, you know, I know kids in there that have literally flunked chemistry, that are currently in the process of building a small butane bomb, like some sort of prepubescent ISIS cell. Oof, I'm having like heart palpitations. Oh my God. Okay, let's just get this over with. Axe body spray, America's favorite fragrance.
That is like chocolate chip cookie. What does that smell? It can't smell like That would be so weird if your armpits smelled like cookies. I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but I'm sure other people would. I'm just weird like that. I certainly would not mind. But I'm sure it doesn't actually smell like that. Now I'm curious. Should I buy the chocolate chip cookie deodorant?
Flamethrower! In the mid-2000s, Axe became the #1 hygiene choice for deodorizing dudes, during a time when taking decent care of yourself as a man apparently made you a douchebag. If only they knew how ironic that statement would become. For nearly a decade, Axe dominated the men's grooming market with their wide array of dude-flavored...
A stream idea? No. I don't want to have to buy any more Axe body spray than I need to.
fragrances, shampoos, and ball scrubbing things.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently Consumer Insights learned that young dudes thought loofahs were gay, so they had to make it tactical. But this approach actually
Tactical. I've seen those. I've definitely seen those in the wild before. I don't. Okay. How many of you use loofahs? Is that like a good thing? What I do, my body wash, it's like exfoliate it. It's like an exfoliating body wash. So like, it doesn't need to. I don't need to like. Yeah, the scrubby things. I just use my hands because mine is like a It's like a chemical exfoliant. I'd be using that thing hashtag every day. That's nice. I guess if I was using regular soap, I'd probably use it, in order to like get that dead skin off. But I've got like really fancy. Yeah, I've got like really fancy like salicylic acid body wash that like if I used a loofah, I feel like it would like irritate my skin probably because it's like too much irritation.
actually ended up working. Axe's success in the 2000s
Too much
was
exfoliation.
the tacky yet promising start to
What
what would
the?
eventually mature into the multi-billion-dollar men's grooming renaissance we're now experiencing today. But how did it begin? How did Axe manage to convince an entire generation of young dudes to care about hygiene? Well, it was when Axe's advertising team decided they weren't selling scents, they were selling sex. In 1995, Axe Body Spray pivoted their marketing strategy to appeal to the modern bachelor, with a sex-fueled, tongue-in-cheek ad campaign that promised to dogpile you in babes if you use their product. And it resonated.
Wow.
Axe's commercials told every young man with an apathetic hygiene
I don't think anyone is like, yeah, I love the smell of Axe.
routine exactly what they wanted to
Axe gets you
Turns out to
no
get women,
girls,
you don't-
bro. I don't. To be honest, I don't like. I have like cologne. I have like good cologne, but I don't like put it on unless it's like a fancy occasion. Maybe I should try wearing it more. I mean, I have like 2 bottles of like pretty. It's like it's not like it's decent cologne. It smells good at least.
don't need to rely on archaic attraction methods like humor, good looks, or working on yourself. You just need a good old can of confidence. And with the press of a button, you could have every woman within a 50-foot radius begging for your Hotmail account. They called it the Axe Effect. And according to advertisers, women couldn't resist. But there was one small oversight. You see, Axe's commercials were very sexually suggestive, primarily intended for an audience of young adult men. But that didn't stop young boys from completely and utterly latching on to this product. In all honesty, Axe probably should have seen this coming. I mean, what are generally the 2 things that
I mean, that's not bad either. It's like, well, we didn't get the demographic that we wanted, but we got a whole different demographic that might even buy more of this stuff.
happen
Not
when
a bad
boy
thing.
turns 13? Well, you start liking girls, and you also, quite inconveniently, start smelling bad. Now look, whether or not Axe intended for this to happen is a whole
It's
other
true.
conspiracy. But trust me, it happened. In 2007, I was 9 years old. I wanted to stink so bad. I would have given anything to stink just so I could have had an excuse to take the sacred bro baptism and re-emerge as a man with an insatiable libido. Before long, Axe had permeated its way through every middle school in the West. What was originally marketed as a grooming product for young bachelors instantly got hijacked by preteens with an obsession for cool packaging and things with butane in them. It was kind of unexpected. Axe unintentionally became a coming-of-age product, a universal, unspoken, olfactory signal that let you and your fellow prepubescents know, hey fellas,
It's definitely like a high school gym locker kind of thing.
we're into girls now. This juvenile
Or even
obsession
middle
with
school.
Axe would eventually help catapult the company from a niche little European fragrance brand to a worldwide
European?
phenomenon that ended up dominating over 70% of the men's body spray market. It was everything the company could have hoped for. But as time went on, this success slowly baked itself into a big old batch of be careful what you wish for. By 2013, people were starting to wake up to the fact that every 12-year-old on the planet had been overly applying Axe body spray for the last decade. Turns out if you give a preteen boy a butane-powered spray can and constantly tell him to spray more, get more, he will very quickly abuse that power. Eventually, this made it so that anyone who came in contact with the product instantly recognized it as the overbearing scent of boys ages 9 through 15. And rightfully so. The excessive application and misuse of Axe products was a genuinely massive problem for education systems in the mid-2000s. Think of the high school vaping epidemic, except less deadly. Or then again, maybe just as deadly. You see, Axe body spray was manufactured in aerosol cans, which gave the product the alarming capacity to...
Yeah, you think people would try to sniff? I don't know. You know, you have to get your ID checked when you're checking out those compressed air cans for like dusting computers and stuff. Because people will try to huff the compressed air, and it's like, bro, chill. Just have a cigarette or something. What are you doing?
To transform into homemade weapons like flamethrowers, stink bombs, actual bombs, and whatever else boys could figure out, prompting most schools to outright ban Axe altogether.
Axe Whippets sounds awful.
Axe had managed to turn your everyday high school into a battlefield.
I'm upset that I even know what whippets are.
Ones found in War Thunder.
Oh god.
The most comprehensive different that end into infamy. Suddenly, Axe had become a running joke, synonymous with middle school locker rooms, sexual desperation, and everything that was tacky about the mid-2000s. And eventually, it was how we all came to remember the product. Except for guys like this. I don't think these guys ever got the memo. They're still using it. Regardless, in a dramatically ironic turn of events, Axe's brand image was soiled by the same demographic that arguably made them successful in the first place. And now, even over a decade after pivoting their marketing strategies, the company is still pouring millions into trying to change your mind about their product. So how did it get this bad in the first place? What was it about Axe's marketing?
To be fair, I have not tried, other than like the antiperspirant, which is like different, I think. I don't even know if it's Axe. It's like one of these companies. Now there's like several companies that like have the same kind of like iconography.
Marketing that made them so successful,
so it's just one of them.
Ultimately ended up hurting them in the long term. What were the strategies, the demographics, and finally the competitors that eventually soured consumers' perceptions on the brand? Well, in order to learn how Axe ended up, let's take a look at where they began. Contrary to popular belief, Axe didn't just materialize itself into mid-2000s.
It definitely lost to the Old Spice
fact,
ads,
the product
that's for
actually
sure.
got its start in 1983 in none other than France, the home of odor. Originally, Axe, or Lynx in the UK, would launch in Europe as the world's first body spray for men. Unlike the conservative spritz of a cologne bottle, with Axe you could very liberally and quite seductively spray it all over yourself. But for over a decade, Axe would see a less than stellar level of success throughout Europe, with a stale marketing strategy that was almost unrecognizable from what would eventually take shape in the 2000s. Originally, Axe had advertised their product like any other cologne. A handsome guy, a pretty girl, and just enough product placement to remind you why you were looking at them.
It's not a
But by the
cologne though, is
mid-90s,
it?
Axe began replacing that traditional...
What's the difference between like deodorant and cologne? I think cologne is a lot stronger, probably.
hunky dude with a goofier, more relatable character. Suddenly, instead of a suave womanizer, it was a dork. And that dork was supposed to be you. Now Axe was saying, listen, we know you're all poorly socialized, overgrown man-children with bad hygiene routines and an apprehension towards women. But with a little bit of Axe, you don't have to be. You don't have to be. And just like that, the Axe effect was born. By utilizing the perfect mix of satire and irony, the cornerstones of Western humor, Axe managed to communicate the idea of cologne in a way that was approachable, helping them to reach a significantly wider audience of men than they ever had before. Suddenly, cologne wasn't just for rich yuppies and late 90s pretty boys. Now it was for the everyman. With Axe, it didn't matter what you looked like, how you dressed, or how repulsive women found you. As long as you had the Axe effect, ladies couldn't resist. It helped.
Yeah, this channel has crazy editing.
With a price tag that was approachable enough for the average guy to consider it a worthwhile investment. You see, there's a
Were you here for the video about Avatar? Because that was
reason
same
Axe isn't sold in the fancy fragrance section
same
of a
kind of
department store.
style.
And that's because the guys who buy expensive cologne
Crazy when you give boys a green screen, they just do this.
are practically a completely different species from the guys who buy Axe. Sorry, I might have gone a little overboard with that depiction. My point is, Axe customers simply aren't interested in the nuanced, evolving notes of a Bleu de Chanel, and they're certainly not interested in its $200 price tag.
Wow.
But by God, a $5 can of shock sounds like it just might do the trick. Yet weirdly enough, that $5 can of Axe is made in the exact same lab as that $200 cologne. It may come as no surprise, but fragrance manufacturers like the IFF develop their expensive colognes and cheap colognes with most of the same chemicals
Yeah, that's what I thought, honestly.
and equipment.
It seems like a
Of course,
marketing
more
thing.
expensive colognes
Like a designer brands.
are tied to esteemed fragrance houses that meticulously weigh their chemical mixtures to secrete finer notes, and you don't care about anything I'm saying because you're a frat guy in your 20s. And that's exactly what enabled Axe to create such a cheap product. Unlike their more expensive counterparts, Axe is just a giant stink bomb. One really loud stench with names that sound like they hurt you, like shock, fever, and chill. My point is, they're not complicated, expensive, or pretentious, and that's exactly what enabled Axe to appeal to a much wider group of men. So much so that in 2002, Axe would finally see enough success in
Fever.
Europe to bring the Axe effect
Yo, girl, you smell like fever.
to North America. And this is when things started getting a little
Yeah.
out of hand. By now,
I honestly, I noticed that as well, because like a lot of them, like a lot of it when I was like, shopping for this stuff in high school, I was like, what, like what am I, like, what is this supposed to smell like? It's called like Bliss. What does Bliss smell like? I don't know.
Axe
You
had
just had to
very much
guess
solidified itself
based on
as a
like the
brand for
color
young
of the can
bachelors. But this strategy was
and like
infinitely amplified
the
when
imaging
the company realized
images.
they were advertising in the golden age of frat bro culture, resulting in a complete dudification of their entire company. All of a sudden, understanding Axe's primary customer base became an obsession. Market researchers would even go so far as to infiltrate college frat parties and nightclubs just to try and stay on top of trends. And this
deodorant I bought today is cucumber and cactus water scented. Like, isn't cucumber known for being tasteless and scentless? I think maybe it's supposed to smell like what a cucumber tastes like. Like, it definitely tastes like something. I don't know what, but
this kind of
it
field
does.
work eventually led to
Mostly
a very
water, but-
cringeworthy company culture. According to reports, in the mid-2000s, to help explain Axe's brand mission,
It just smelled like vanilla. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
new marketing hires would be shown the pill scene from The Matrix.
It's like they'll call it like anything, but at the end of the day, it's either just like, oh, it smells like vanilla, or it smells like cinnamon, or it smells like pumpkin.
and told that Axe was the red pill.
Or maybe pumpkin is a bit bold for like a deodorant, or maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I think anything food related is a bit.
even sponsor their own nightclub called Axe Lounge, where artists would be paid to perform and promote Axe. And it was a little awkward. It seems like the main vibe at the lounge was for each artist to come on stage, say something really uncomfortable, and then start performing, with Drake being by far the best example of this.
I said all the ladies in here tonight, this verse is like for y'all, so I want you to feel me when I do it, and then maybe later I could feel you and we could just feel each other. What can I say about Axe? Axe smells great.
Axe also started pushing boundaries.
It's just like, oh yeah, I have to talk about Axe. What can I say about Axe? It smells great. What a cartoonish fellow.
Much harder with their advertising. Along with their raunchy, sexually suggestive commercials, Axe would also advertise through print ads, which were equally as edgy. Here's a great one of Hillary Clinton wearing an Obama for President button, with the implication here being that Obama uses Axe, I guess. Or how about this one? That's it. That's literally...
What? Wait, what is this ad?
I guess. Or how about this one?
Yo, the Lynx effect. That is great. That is uncalled for.
That's it. That's literally the whole ad. They even pulled an online stunt that allowed fans of their Facebook page to literally the whole ad. They even pulled...
I've used this before. It was my mom gave me this when I was like in high school. It was supposed to smell like chocolate. Irresistible chocolate. Was it good? It smelled fine.
An online stunt that allowed fans of their Facebook page to set their relationship status to be with hundreds of women at a time, which, not gonna lie, kind of funny, but it's mainly because they only did this in Tunisia for some reason. But however you look at it now, back in the mid-2000s, Axe's marketing strategies were some of the most successful ad campaigns of the decade. Everything from the promotional events, to the advertising, to the packaging of the products helped to make Axe look like the #1 tool for dudes engaged in sexual conquest. Of course, this kind of success doesn't come without its competitors. In 2005, Procter & Gamble released Tag.
Oh my god, on your clothing? That's diabolical.
A body spray that was an almost identical ripoff of Axe. Both products were 3-letter words, the packaging was eerily similar, and the premises for the advertisements were exactly the same to the point where
packaging looks like a 5-hour energy. Yeah.
It's almost shocking
and the shape of the bottle as well.
A lawsuit. It was a blatant copycat, and this unoriginality led to the perception that Tag was just the Walmart version of Axe. Except Axe was the Walmart version of Axe, so the product was quickly discontinued. There was also Bod Man, another spray-on deodorant which was much more original, but twice as homoerotic, with scents like Fresh Guy.
Fresh Guy. Why is it like a... This looks like something... Why is it shaped like something you would like spray on your windows?
Really ripped abs and... black. But in the mid-2000s, nothing had quite the level of staying power as Axe. And this was all thanks to a growing fan base of somewhat unexpected customers. You see, after Axe had achieved a substantial level of popularity, it wasn't long before the kids caught wind of the trend. Suddenly, Axe had become a status symbol for boys all across the globe looking to prove their manhood to their peers. And as we all know, nothing is more manly than having a libido and smelling bad. But as we recall, this didn't really end well. You see,
Yeah, also, it wouldn't make you smell any better. It would just make you smell like BO and Axe, which is a deadly combination.
Teens didn't make up the entirety of the Axe market, but they certainly were the loudest. Boys simply did not know how to responsibly apply Axe. It got so bad that the company even released an entire ad campaign to try and teach customers how much Axe they should spray. But that was still only part of the problem. There were dozens of real medical emergencies that
Whoa.
arose from kids abusing Axe. Entire school
Abusing.
buses had to be evacuated. Children were fainting from it. An alarming amount of kids were setting themselves on fire, and one boy even died of heart failure
What? I didn't hear about any of this.
after spraying too much Axe in an enclosed space.
Jeez.
And these cases are not hard to find. I mean, you can watch dozens of videos online of boys doing all sorts of stupid stuff with Axe, and the comment sections
hell?
are not very reassuring. Sick, sick. I already tried that.
Sick.
So sick. I just did it sick. Nice. Thanks for the info. That was sick. What are the chances of the can explode? Cool. Sweet. That's sick. Great weapon for Great weapon when you're in other countries. Sick. So sick. You are a genius. Nice. It can blow up if you hold it too long,
Sick.
but kicks ass. After a certain amount of time, it was becoming quite clear that young boys had completely hijacked Axe's reputation and were very literally burning it to the ground. But somehow, that still wasn't the end of their problems. In 2010, the grandfather of men's grooming, Old Spice, re-entered the market with the Man Your Man Could Smell Like campaign, intended to promote the company's new line of shampoo. But unlike Axe's oftentimes crude and suggestive marketing, Old Spice took a different approach. Instead of boasting to men about how many hot babes they could get with their product, Old Spice didn't even address men at all.
Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies.
Also, I tried a Old Spice like shampoo and conditioner like a few months ago, and I hated it. I don't think I even got like halfway through the bottle. It just like made my hair like feel gross.
Turns out the company's market research had revealed that roughly 60% of men's body wash was purchased by women for their significant others. And what better way to get women's attention than with a hunky, charming new spokesperson that delivered witty one-liners about how much better your man could be if he just used Old Spice.
Pretty good.
And it was an
tactic,
absolute smash
actually.
hit. The Man Your Man Could Smell Like campaign was one of the most viral marketing ads to cap off the decade, and helped Old Spice to regain its footing in a market that had shunned them for decades as an old man's grooming product. It also helped to redefine how the industry could be advertised to men. Just like Axe, Old Spice was still using tongue-in-cheek humor, but tastefully, and in a way that, in contrast, made Axe look obnoxious and immature. And this opinion developed quickly. As the 10s began to unfold, Axe's brand image had fallen out of fashion.
Just scrolled here to say I accidentally swallowed a plastic water bottle cap today. Nice.
And when comparing
Nice.
the
Thank
two
you for the
brands,
details.
we can very distinctly see a sort of swag is for boys, classes for men sentiment start to arise. Turns out basing your entire brand image around sexual conquest no longer resonated with young men, nor with women. And if you're going to make a product that is based
Macroplastics.
solely around the
So
idea
real.
of attracting women, well, you better damn make sure that they like it too. This, combined with the fact that the product had become heavily associated with preteen boys, quickly painted the picture.
Yeah, I mean a plastic cap. If you're not like an actual infant, then that should be fine. That's not a ton. I think people have swallowed way worse, and gotten away with it.
That Axe was made for immature, desperate man-children that thought body spray was a valid substitute for a shower. And as the two companies expanded their product lines to sell virtually the same products, Axe was starting to see a significant chunk of their market
I don't even see how you can accidentally do that though, but yeah.
share eaten by competitors. So, in a desperate attempt to save their brand image, Axe would start to change their tune. And at first, they didn't do that bad of a job. In 2014, Axe developed a whole new company mantra: connection over conquest, symbolizing their efforts to highlight the connections between men and women rather than the pursuit of women. They also focused on emphasizing Axe as an accessory to confidence, not the key to it, which helped to steer the brand's image in a more mature
Spraying Axe on your wrist is crazy.
direction. But the stigma persisted. And as the company veered into the late 10s, the men of today weren't really inclined to reach for the same product they used in middle school, resulting in a year-over-year US sales decline. Now this is where Axe started to panic, and by 2020, that panic resulted in some of the most questionable ad campaigns Axe had ever produced, all in an attempt to appeal to the new holy grail.
Dude, I hate ads that are like for gamers. That's why I can't stand watching Twitch, because they give you an ad like every hour, like every time you click on a new stream, or like hourly, or sometimes like I don't know, because the streamer now can set the rate at like how many, like how often like the mid rolls play, like in the middle of your of watching a stream, it just like jump scares you with an ad. But the streamer can set how often that happens, and usually they set it to the most, like they set it to like the most that they possibly can to try to squeeze all the money they can out of you. So you're just watching an ad every 15 minutes. Gotta hate Twitch.
Demographics, Gen Z. One of Axe's first forays into this market was by trying the whole pandering to gamers angle, which has got to be the most irritating marketing trend of the 20s.
That's what I'm saying.
If you've seen a similar video I've done on 5Gum, then you'll know this isn't the first time brands have tried to weasel their way into gamer culture.
I think I watched that one on stream too.
The whole concept behind the ad was to try and prove that wearing Axe would somehow make you better at gaming. And after conducting what appeared to be a very flawed experiment, their team concluded...
Of all the things to like try to push towards, like, you know, appealing to gamers, like, why body spray? That's like the last thing they're thinking about, even though they might need it.
That Axe was scientifically proven to...
Especially the Smash players.
Increase your gaming skills.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The gamers do kind of need it, though.
0.1%. But instead of canning the ad altogether and admitting they failed, Axe's marketing team somehow flipped this into a win for the brand.
Or they could just, like, they should market more directly. Like, hey, don't be don't be obnoxious. Just, like, don't go to conventions or fighting game tournaments unshowered. Dude, pack some deodorant, you know? Like, be real. Not be like, this body spray will enhance your gaming performance. Like, no.
Brand by calling it the 0.1% effect. God, I love advertising. Thankfully, this seems like the only ad Axe released for this campaign, and the strategy wasn't explored any further. Instead, they did this.
Being vaccinated is hot. Being axinated.
Oh.
Hotter.
Why? Another one of Axe's strategies was to host a blind smell test, judged by Instagram influencers, with their follower counts proudly displayed by their names, so you know they're reputable. The goal of the ad was to help reduce the negative stigma around their product by having participants judge Axe against expensive colognes. This was meant to promote Axe's new line of high-quality premium scents. Now, this isn't a new thing for Axe. In fact, they've done this numerous times with releases like Axe White Label, Axe Signature, and now Axe Fine Fragrances, in the hopes that a more upscale alternative would attract a more mature customer base. Here's my favorite ad from that era, brought to you by Axe India, where a guy sprays on Axe Signature scent, goes out to a club, and when the sound system stops working, he keeps the party going by beatboxing.
It's such a big state. How is he projecting his voice to this entire, like,
I can't even fathom the level of social self-sabotage that would bring upon you. But it isn't all bad. Look, there's a reason Axe is still on shelves today, and that's because the company has taken giant leaps to help update the image of their brand.
Use the power of Axe. You're so right. Why didn't I think of that?
Certainly been a decline of sales in the Western market, Axe is still surprisingly one of the highest selling deodorants worldwide. Now, this is hugely due to the fact that the stigma surrounding Axe really only exists in the West. But if the company wants to regain that part of the market, there's still a good amount of work to do. Today, the internet is still riddled with memes about Axe's embarrassing middle school reputation.
Wait, we got a close-up of that one.
Riddled with memes about Axe's
What? Sneakers and cookies. That sounds disgusting. Why would you call it that? That's gross. What? Ew. Why? I was on board until you named it that. That's gross. Why?
Embarrassing middle school reputation, and the sentiment doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It's gotten so bad that Axe has even playfully addressed the stigma in some of their commercials to try and appear in on the joke, when in reality, the joke is still very much on them. But I'm optimistic. If Old Spice was able to re-engineer their brand to appeal to a younger demographic,
Now I don't want to
so
try
can
it
Axe,
anymore.
just in reverse, kind of. But until that day comes, Axe is probably better off right where it always belongs.
Maybe I'll watch a review. Do people review Axe body sprays?
Hey guys, how's it going? Hey, whoa, okay, careful.
And sometimes I'll just like, I'll be like, kind of like, I'll like buy something random, like, for example, like a candy bar that I haven't tried before, and I'll just be like, I wonder if like people like have reviewed this, and I'll look on YouTube and there's like some random video, like with like 60 views, like reviewing this random chocolate bar, and it's like the most unprofessional thing ever, but it's just like, it's cool that like no matter what it is, you can always like find at least one other person's thoughts about it. Yeah, I know those kind of vids are kind of great. I'm glad that they exist. They're valuable in a way. Okay, I don't think we need to watch anymore. It's just more War Thunder. Okay, I still have two more videos here. These are more informative, less ADHD TikTok-y. These are kind of more educational, I think. But still interesting though, I think.
Take a look at this beer glass.
Huh?
It doesn't look particularly robust. If anything, it feels almost flimsy in your hand. It's lightweight
What?
and the walls are thin. Let's drop it.
No, why? Oh. I thought it was
And
gonna
again.
break. Stop it. Why? What are you doing?
And again.
Why? Oh.
It is called Superfest. That's German
Huh? Superfest?
for super firm.
Oh.
When it was invented in 1977, it was estimated to be about 5 times as durable as ordinary glassware. In practice, it turned out to be nearly
Insane video topic. How communists made unbreakable glass. That is kind of crazy. This is by Fern.
15 times as durable.
Isn't that also the name of like that Freerin girl?
This glass is basically unbreakable.
The purple
it's
one?
heat resistant, stackable, and lightweight. But despite Superfest's undeniable quality, these glasses haven't been produced in over 4 decades.
I don't know.
The company that produced them no longer exists. In fact, the country that produced them no longer exists. What was their secret? And perhaps more importantly, why aren't we all drinking from these unbreakable glasses today?
Probably because they had like asbestos in them or something, if I had to guess. Also, these exist. They're just called plastic cups. Like we have like plastic like we have like plastic glassware, plasticware, if you will.
To understand Superfest, we first need to understand where it comes from. It's
Like
1949.
clear plastic? Like, yeah,
From the
we
rubble
got
of
that.
World War II's devastation and the defeat of the Nazis, 2 new countries are born. The Federal Republic of Germany in the west and the German Democratic Republic, or GDR, in the east. The world will come to know it as East Germany. East Germany has been founded under the ideals of socialism and anti-fascism and aims to promote equality and prosperity amongst the working class. But throughout its 41-year existence, East Germany will be a country plagued by economic hardship, particularly in its early days. It's been cut off from the industrial hub in Western Germany, which is much richer in natural resources. As a result, the GDR has to rely on expensive imports for raw materials. A lot of its industrial capacity and manufactured goods have been seized
I
at
don't know why, but just that image of like all those like tanks and trucks just flying away. It's funny.
wartime reparations, and many
Like,
of the
no,
factories that did exist
like
in
the
the
Rapture.
region have been dismantled by Allied forces.
Arriving at Tilbury docks, the cargo ship Irondale brings a mixed consignment of materials by way of reparations from Germany.
In these
Where did
early
that
years
accent go,
after the
man? We
war,
need to bring that
East
back.
Germany focuses on establishing its own heavy industry. Until this is taken care of, the production of consumer products doesn't get prioritized. Basic goods like clothes and tools are often in short supply, if they are available at all. Prices can be astronomical. Even food is scarce. Every month, around
Dang.
30,000 East Germans pack up and head to the west before the border closes in 1952. A heavily secured wall was built in Berlin in 1961. On the other side of the Iron Curtain, West Germany's economy is recovering at a surprising speed. The Wirtschaftswunder, or
Oh, that's where the
economic
Iron
miracle,
Curtain
is
comes
elevating
from.
Western Germany far
Okay.
sooner than anyone expected. East Germans are well aware their standards of living
I feel
are
like I
lagging
should have
far
known that.
behind their West German neighbors. This will be an ongoing source of tension between the governing party and the workers. People are increasingly fed up. By 1953, workers rebel.
Whoa.
What begins as a series of strikes and protests against the meager standards of living spreads into a movement throughout the country. Workers storm town halls and
Yeah, I think we need another one of these.
demand free elections
Not
and a
gonna lie.
reunified Germany. The party turns to the Soviet Union for help, and the Soviet tanks roll in to brutally squash the uprising, killing dozens.
Okay, maybe we don't need that, but
In an attempt to meet the workers halfway, the party makes considerable efforts to improve access to consumer goods.
Meet
One
me
major area
halfway.
of focus is in rebuilding the nation's chemical industry, with a campaign operating under the catchy slogan of chemistry yields bread, prosperity, and beauty. The nation's chemical production is kicked into high gear. In particular, plastic starts to infiltrate the nation.
I was wondering when. Wait, is this just like? So they are just plastic cups, huh?
But it's not just plastic that receives a push in production.
Okay.
By the 1970s, it becomes clear that something must be done about the country's glass shortage.
Let me be clear.
At a festival, someone makes the unthinkable faux pas
I know why there's a glass shortage, because they've made all these people out of
of
glass.
serving a high-ranking GDR minister beer in a paper cup. Drinking it from a paper cup is naturally utterly unacceptable. In 1975, GDR officials task a research
Not
lab
the
with
paper cup.
figuring out how to improve glass. It should be tougher and more
Paper cups do be kind of depressing though, like the little cones that you get at the water thing. What are they called? The water cooler, like little cone cups. I hate those. It's kind of a vibe to drink from them, but you literally like taste the paper when you drink from them.
resistant to sudden changes in temperature, so that glasses don't need to be replaced as often. As a bonus, they also hope to create a successful export product, an innovation that will gain worldwide respect for East Germany. East German products are often ridiculed by West Germans. East German cars, for example, are slow, sputtering, and cramped, and GDR citizens would have to wait around 9 years to get one. Their West German
Dang.
neighbors, meanwhile, are zipping along the Autobahn in Volkswagen, BMW, Audi, Porsche, or Mercedes models, and they are becoming very rich exporting them. Socialist production needs to gain legitimacy on the world stage. Could unbreakable glass be the big win East Germany needs? The task is classified
I'm
as
guessing
a
no.
project of particular urgency.
But
and
let's
the
see it.
chemists get to work. Inventing a successful product is not easy, but you may already have the perfect idea. Let's say you're really inspired by the concept of unbreakable glass and want to make your own unique coffee mugs.
You're
After
going to
a great
advertise something
campaign
to
in which
me.
you demonstrate the undeniable sand. Sand's primary constituent is silica.
I think I
which,
skipped
when
it.
Glass is all around
There we
us.
go.
So much so that we don't even notice it. Except, of course, when it breaks.
Oh. What?
Glass has been...
Why? Look at all this space here. What are you doing, bro?
Except, of course, when...
He just got that childish wonder, that urge to parkour, no matter how small it is. Like, yeah, I'm gonna jump through this little inconspicuous square hole.
It breaks.
Bonk.
Glass has been with us for a very long time. It's found in nature, like the volcanic glass obsidian, but we've been developing it ourselves for around 4,000 years. Glass is made from sand. Sand's primary constituent is silica, which, when melted and cooled rapidly, creates an amorphous solid. This means that its atoms have a disorderly arrangement. Most solids are composed of orderly crystalline structures, but these atoms are all over the place. It's this random, irregular arrangement of atoms that makes glass so breakable. Glass doesn't break because it's, as commonly believed, inherently weak. Glass is actually quite strong. It can sometimes demonstrate strength greater than steel. Glass breaks because of stress. It may be strong, but it's a very brittle material. This means that it can withstand pressure over time, but it breaks easily with stress like a sudden impact or temperature change. When stress is applied to glass, such as bending or striking, the irregular arrangement of its particles doesn't allow it to deform or stretch like a material with a regular crystalline structure would. Instead, the particles are jostled about randomly, which creates space for flaws to develop and propagate. The rapid spread of cracks causes the glass
Not gonna
to
lie though, they're
shatter
kind of
into
losing
sharp
me in the
fragments.
atom talk.
This tendency to shatter is the biggest drawback to glass. Humans have been experimenting with ways to make glass
I don't think they had to explain it. They could have just been like, guys, glass shatters and that's bad.
tougher for thousands of years. In the Bronze Age, ancient glassmakers discovered that mixing the ash of desert plants with sand could make glass more stable and workable. We now know this is because of the calcium oxide, also known as lime, found in the desert ash. Lime is also sourced in limestone, which is abundant in many places on Earth.
Wait. Hold on. Let me hear that again.
Humans have been experimenting with ways to make glass tougher for thousands of years. In the Bronze Age, ancient glassmakers discovered that mixing the ash of desert plants with sand could make glass more stable.
The ash of desert plants?
And workable. We now know
I never heard of that. I thought it was just sand.
Calcium oxide, also known as lime, found in the desert ash. Lime is also sourced in limestone, which is abundant in many places on Earth, making it a relatively inexpensive additive. As a result, soda lime glass is still the most prevalent glass worldwide. By the 1970s, other methods had been developed to strengthen glass, tempering it with heat.
You know what's a shame? It's a shame that we went away from the glass bottles in like soda and stuff. I used to get like glass bottles and beer and stuff. I don't know why soda doesn't get like the same treatment. Like why? I don't know. Why is it soda that's like, oh, it's not good enough for glass now? Why not? Man. It's like, if anything, it's like more expensive to make than beer is. You know, treat it with the same amount of class. Also, soda just tastes better in glass bottles for whatever reason. My tier list is like probably like glass bottles at the top, then cans, and then bottles. I don't know why, but it always just tastes inferior when it's in a plastic bottle. And it's not like, I don't know what. Sometimes I feel like I'm imagining it. Or it's just like, what do they call it? You know, that effect when you just believe something. So like, I don't know.
Heat or laminating it between sheets of plastic, for example. But these methods are energy intensive or not good at keeping glassware thin and transparent. The East German scientists are looking to produce glass stronger than your standard, still rather breakable soda lime glass, but on the cheap. After a couple years of studying glass, they experiment with ion exchanging, a process that had been discovered in the mid-19th century. Until this point, it was used mostly for military applications. Ion exchange involves heating ordinary glass and bathing it in a potassium nitrate solution, which temporarily melts the outer layer of the glass.
Giving a
This
nice
allows
little bath.
larger potassium ions to move
Get a rubber
into
ducky
the
in there.
glass and crowd out the smaller sodium ions. Potassium ions, needing more space, exert pressure on their neighboring atoms. This creates a strong layer of tension that prevents crackage, a first line of defense for stresses that would normally break the glass. With the ions having less space to be jostled about, there's less space for flaws to develop. The ion exchange method works beautifully.
This is atomic
Scientists modestly
talk is
predict
like going
this
over
new
my head.
glassware will be
I'm too
5
dumb for
times
this.
more durable than ordinary soda lime glass. In practice, it's up to 15 times less breakable.
Whoa.
By the late 70s, the party orders for this new glass to be produced en masse. Restaurants all over East Germany buy up Superfest glasses until nobody needs to buy anymore. They are sorted for years to come because the glasses almost never break. Nowadays, the glasses you find in restaurants and bars worldwide aren't even close to the same quality. Due to breakage, the typical bar replaces anywhere from 50 to 100% of its glassware every single year.
Oh dang,
Replacing
really?
glassware is a significant expense
I guess
for
it is.
any gastro business. By the 80s,
yeah, I
East
could see
Germany
that.
is in glass overproduction and there's a surplus of Superfest. The company patents it, hoping to sell it on the European market. The Council of Ministers is counting on Superfest to bring in 3.7 million Deutsche Marks per year. But there's just one problem.
It sounds like a fake currency.
They can't find any buyers.
Huh?
They commission West
Why not?
German sales representative Eberhard Pook to spread the gospel of their superior new product.
Why
Pook is blown
are they
away
made out
by
of like silver?
Superfest's quality. He's convinced he'll sell Superfest super fast. East Germany arms him with more than a dozen models.
He made this video just so he can make that pun.
From beer to shot glasses, and sends him off to international trade shows. Pook has got connections to the biggest names in glass production, including Coca-Cola. He eagerly demonstrates Superfest's quality with the zeal of a true believer. But nobody cares.
Yeah, but like people would see that and be like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess," and then just like go on about their day.
He doesn't sell a single cup. As he recalls it, Coca-Cola reps say, "Why should we use glass that won't break? We earn money with our glasses." Other glass dealers tell him, "Why should we..."
I gotta go sleep. All right. Good night. Good night, Kara. Sleep well. I gotta go to bed soon too.
Saw off
Maybe
the
after this
branch
video.
we're sitting on. The problem with Superfest glasses is that they are just too good. The values that guided its production are not the values that guide most manufacturing. They're entering a market where disposability often trumps durability. A profit motive can
I mean, you'd have to sell it straight to consumers.
incentivize businesses to create products with planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is the design of products with an intentionally limited shelf life so that consumers will buy the product over and over again. It's a controversial but very effective business practice.
Okay, you can't say that like clothes are all like designed with planned obsolescence, because like it's clothes, like they're gonna get like worn out. Like maybe you can make them a little better, but no clothes are gonna last forever.
For example, light bulbs that never break have existed for more than 100 years. But in the 1920s, a cartel of light bulb producers made sure to never produce anything lasting more than 1,000 hours. Once the Berlin Wall fell and the GDR
Yeah, I've heard about the
dissolved,
light bulb
Superfest
industry.
2 ended.
It's kind of crazy.
In 1991, it shut its factory for good. Collectors still hoard crates of the glasses or sell them on eBay. There are restaurants and bars throughout Eastern Germany that use the same Superfest glasses they bought 40 years ago to this day.
That's cool.
Though planned obsolescence is not the whole story for Superfest's disappearance. It was also just ahead of its time. Major US manufacturer Corning Glass experimented with hardening glass with ion exchange in the 60s, independently from what was happening in the GDR a bit later. And when they realized how strong it was, they thought, like the East Germans, that they had hit the jackpot. They pitched their glass to companies
The transition?
that make
Yeah,
phone
we've
booths,
just
car
been watching
windshields,
whatever
and prison
tonight.
windows. At first, there was interest, but sales were slow.
Oh yeah,
Corning was
prison
charging
windows.
a lot for the glass. Most of the potential buyers ultimately went back to using laminated glass as they had been since the 1930s. Corning's upgraded glass just wasn't worth it to them, so the hardened glass got shelved. For decades. That is until 2007, when
Apple.
Steve Jobs approaches Corning with help in creating
Is knife
the
for you
iPhone.
guys? Yeah.
He needs a glass that's thin, transparent, and as unlikely to shatter as possible. And that's how chemically hardened glass is most widely used today, in the screens of billions of electronic devices.
Wait, we're using the Superfast glass? Oh my gosh.
Worldwide. They call it Gorilla Glass.
Oh.
The story.
This is just about Gorilla Glass? Bro. I did not need to watch this video. It was like, whoa, unbreakable glass. I don't know, they hammed it up, man. I didn't know it was just Gorilla Glass. We've had that stuff. Oh my gosh, I got debated. The worst prison in America? That sounds depressing, actually. I don't think I want to watch that. Yeah, that looks cool, I guess. Now we know what glass is in our smartphone. It'll still break, though. It's so fragile. And now the glass is on the back of the phones, too? At least mine has that back glass. Oh, the chat hasn't updated here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go to sleep now. Yeah, thank you for tuning in, everybody. That's what was playing before. Sweet dreams. Yeah, it's probably not nighttime for everyone. Well, technically it isn't for me either. It's 4 in the morning. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, hopefully I won't be too tired in the morning. I can get away with 4 hours of sleep maybe. Alright, good night everybody. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm catching those Z's. Good night. Wrong scene. Okay, bye.